Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the 6th episode of the SuperNova Show! And I am your host, Colton Roberts. Today we've got a wonderful cast. I've got Mr. Anthony Tisdall, Mr. Amara Moses, and Mr. Robert Kastner today with us. It's going to be a very, very interesting show. We got several topics to talk about. We got our vacant SuperNova Show championship match today. We're going to review Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. Talk about the Schmoedown with one of our draftees, or as we should call him now, the newest member of the Usual Suspects. And we're going to review WandaVision and do a little bit of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. talk, season 1. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in Mr. Anthony Tisdall. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm good. I'm chilling. It's been a pretty decent day. So I had to watch a really terrible movie over this past week for the show. So I'll be prepared to discuss that.
Yeah, I can't wait because this is your first time ever seeing An Unexpected Journey, correct?
Oh, yeah. I wasn't watching that. I didn't like any of the other ones. So why would I like this?
Yeah. I can't wait to hear your opinion on this. So what you been up to this last week?
Nothing. Just had normal work schedule, had my little show yesterday, and just doing my normal thing, watching movies and just hanging out with the wife. Nothing special. Can't go anywhere. So
yeah, your working title show was very interesting. I still haven't had the chance to watch it yet, but I plan on it. I'm not going to reveal the big thing that happened in the episode, but it looked real interesting, and I tried to avoid your post where you posted in the open night thing, so I don't know what the two pitches are, because I want to, as soon as we finish this or sometime tomorrow, I want to watch it and see how it went.
Hope you enjoy.
Yep, and it's always a good time watching your shows. Yeah,
I can't compare to Rue. Rue crushed it. Rue and Jacoby had the best show ever.
Yeah, like it's a good time. But I'm gonna go ahead and move you on to the back. Do you have anything to say to your opponent tonight? Since you are playing in the
I mean, I just played him yesterday and he won. But I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. I like him. I like Ryan. Ryan's awesome. So we'll see what happens.
All righty. Well, I'm gonna move you to the back and bring out Mr. Amara Moses. What's up, Amara?
Make sure I'm not muted. What's going on, fam? How you doing?
I can't complain too much. Got to work this morning at 7 a.m. and then they told me I could go home. So
could have told you that last night.
Yeah, that's the problem with my place of employment is even though we were busy and every employee, or we weren't busy, and every employee was like, "Oh, we're gonna get VTO tomorrow." They were like, "Well, we can't figure that out until second and third do their work." And I'm like, "Okay, well, whatever." So we showed up and they were like, "Yeah, you can go home if you want to." And I already drove there, so I just filled out a vacation paper and went home, and then had to go back at 12:30 because me and my wife we ride together because we both work at the same place. So I ate lunch with her, then had to come back at 3 o'clock to pick her up from work. So I really didn't do anything besides watch WandaVision. I planned on coming home and taking a nap, but that episode was so good that I could not sleep afterwards. But yep, that's an entire thing. So how are you doing?
I'm good. It's been a up and down day. Long day at work. But WandaVision, and then finished up a movie, and then the announcement of my first Schmoedown match, which I've just been getting like message after message about. So yeah, it's been a been a weird day, but it's Friday, and at least it's Friday when we're talking. When y'all see this, it might not be. But yeah, weekend is here. So.
Yep. Yeah, this will be Sunday. Unlike last time where we debuted it live, I didn't do that this time. So you're welcome, Kevin and Aaron. You didn't have to mess with my blunder there. But yeah, so how has your week been ever since getting drafted number 2 in the Schmoedown draft? What's that?
I've been tired. I've been very tired. I had to go back to normal teaching and work life. Luckily, still at home. It's probably going to change very soon. But I've been tired because the weekend before that was that draft weekend was an emotionally draining draft in a great way, but still emotionally draining. And the weekend before that, I had another emotionally draining weekend. So back to back, I kind of crashed a couple days. So tired, but it's true. Like I said, so
yeah, it's quite the time. I know you're a teacher, right?
yes.
Yeah. I guess where you live, they're not back in school yet or in class.
No, not in my district, but we will find out. Again, we will find out very soon whether or not our plan to go back stays or it's getting pushed again. Looking like we are going back soon.
Yeah, my kids went back in November, and they go 4 days a week, and then the other day is remote learning. So it's definitely a different experience of, like, I never knew what it, like, while we did that 6-7 months during the COVID period where I was out of work and they were out of school. Homeschooling is awful. No offense. Like, oh my Lord. There's so much to that you guys definitely do not get paid enough for any part of that. So
yes. Take that experience somewhat. It's not the same. It's still not the same because those are your kids. Take that, multiply it by 30 at a time. At one time, for hours at a time, and then a new 30 coming in. Again, still not the same as being a parent, but it's not easy.
Yeah, I don't know what grade do you teach, if you don't mind me asking.
All of middle school. I'm a special education teacher, so I got over the years I have 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, but this year just 7th and 8th.
Okay, yeah, they are in 4th and 5th grade, so they're getting to that point where apparently they don't teach long division anymore, and they teach a weird multiplication style. And as a 29-year-old man who learned all that 20 years ago, I'm like, what is this?
That incredible scene from Incredibles 2, the math scene of why did they change math is very true.
Yeah.
I mean, as a math teacher, I understand it. I know what they're doing. And I get the reasoning. But still, we didn't learn that way, so we're going to teach the way we learned.
Yeah, it was definitely a difficult time. Thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm going to send you back to the back and bring out Mr. Robert Castor. Hey, Robert, what's up?
Hey, buddy. How's it going? Can I ask a quick question before you get into my interview?
Yes.
Were you given Friday off because technically this is supposed to be a very famous weekend where everybody has been wanting the day after it off, so they just decided to give you the day before it off?
No, well, my line of work, I work for a warehouse that deals in clothing line. I don't want to say on air because I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about the place that I work.
No, just call it, just call it Warehouse X or something.
Yeah.
But,
so right now with COVID, there's not as many stores open. Like, we're still doing a lot of e-commerce and stuff.
yes.
Like Amazon and all that stuff, but it's not as much as we were. So, and we just finished our fiscal year at the end of January. So we're really slow right now. So we got there Friday or got there today. Well, it will be Friday when this thing goes up. But Friday, I got to work and was told I could go home. So I did. And I guarantee tomorrow, aka Monday, when I get to work, they're going to say, hey, you can go home because we literally don't have anything to do. And back at the end of July, I broke my foot. So I've still been recovering from that. So I can only do so much at work, which is the reason why, like, if it's not within my work restrictions, the work that they have, then they send me home. Or they ask, hey, do you want to use one of your days off so you can get paid? I will not be doing that Monday because I don't want to waste all my vacation time where I could actually do stuff with my family just on these random days. So that's the primary reason, but it probably also has to do with the Super Bowl and
Superb Owl, or whatever you want to say, the big game. I don't know if you're allowed to say that. Even.
Yeah, a big game.
Yeah,
I mean, we're not making any money off of this.
That's fair. Fine, screw it. Super Bowl 55.
Sue me.
Buccaneers.
I have like $4 in my wallet. So, yeah. So, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Much like Amaru, I'm actually back to work. This is my first week starting my new job. I've been out of commission for a bit, so just learning the ropes. I have a nice setup with all the things that they sent me, piece by piece, package by package. My wife and I put it together this weekend. Started on Monday. Just been getting used to the idea of the rigmarole of what it's like to go through an average workday, which I wasn't used to. So after a week of it, it was simultaneously like the longest and shortest week of my life.
Alrighty. Yeah, I understand. How long have you been out of work, if you don't mind me asking?
Since about June of last year. So most of my time from then to this has been about doing things like this and studying for trivia and focusing a lot on that, which coming up, I have some pretty big matches this coming week that I am doing a lot of studying for when I am not now working.
Yeah, I remember during the time where I was unemployed because of COVID, it made studying so much easier because all I could do is sit on my couch and look at my flashcards all day because that's all I was doing that or watching ridiculous medical or cop dramas with my wife. And as a person who I used to be in law enforcement, so I hate the shows that are super unrealistic to how things actually are. So I don't like those, but some of them that she's been watching recently are actually really accurate, so I like those.
Have you ever watched those YouTube videos where they have like lawyers go through law shows and talk about all the inaccuracies of all the legalities of what was going on and how none of that would actually happen if it was a real trial that was going on?
I've watched something very similar with there's a doctor who he goes through the medical dramas and talks about. Yeah, I've watched those and yeah, I've watched those before and yeah, like I'm glad I'm not a doctor. But
was he one of the ones who said Scrubs is interestingly one of the more accurate medical shows that I've
which he said that like minus the satire and stuff, it's one of the most accurate medical shows out there, which is, and then he was like, yeah, Grey's Anatomy, not accurate at all.
Yes, and yet double the lifespan of Scrubs.
Yeah, but well, I think that last season of Scrubs is the reason why we have less Scrubs.
Well, I mean, ABC Disney in that sense stink, but I guess you could blame NBC for that too. But what are you gonna do? I mean, I think they were only supposed to go a few years, and they went double that. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah, yeah, that's one of my favorite shows. But I've actually have gotten into Grey's Anatomy. It's actually pretty good, I will say.
My wife used to watch it. We have a couple seasons on DVD, so she's aware of it. And anytime there's a Grey's thing that comes up, she kind of gives me some background if it's something she's watched. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, yeah, my wife loves that. I think most women love that show. My sister loves it. My mother loves it. My wife loves it. I'm just like, okay. And during COVID, you didn't have any new shows coming on because no one was filming stuff. So, yep, that's pretty much that. And
Shout out to my wife. She likes to watch really, not saying those things aren't cool, but she likes to watch really cool things with me, like binge watching The Sopranos and things like that.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, I'm going to send you to the back, and I'm going to bring out our contestants for our movie trivia championship.
Yes.
All right. Let's see. Anthony?
I'm back.
Let's
Oh,
this.
not Dante again.
Oh no, Dante, he's back in the base. He's living in my attic right now. You're just dealing with me.
Okay.
Okay. Smooth one.
All right. So. Ha. That's funny. All right. So Anthony Tisdale versus Ryan Payne. It's just in case if you need a refresher. It's 10 questions. We're gonna spin the wheel in just a second to see if it's gonna be singles questions or if it's gonna be geek questions. And then it's 10 questions. Most out of 10 right. If there's a tie, I have some tiebreaker questions, but if I run out of those, I may need some help. So 2 people in the back, think of some ideas. Because I definitely did not prepare enough for that.
Listen from that little chat that's going on. You got 2 guys that have no problem giving you backup questions.
Yeah, no, I think you'll be fine.
All right, great. Because
I guess the echo's me. It must be me.
Hold on. I'm gonna see what if it's me, so give me a second. Now, you still hearing that echo?
I haven't heard it yet, so that's why it's me.
Oh.
All right. I don't know.
but okay, so let me share my.
Thank you, Rue, for getting drafted to give me another chance at this. It's helped out great.
All right, let me share my screen here, and let's go.
We just roll the dice to determine what we get.
Oh, that's nice. I have a chance.
Hey.
Yeah, it's a fight we got here.
Now it's a fight, because if it was geek, there would be no fight, and I had 5 questions, and I'll be like, congratulations, save your questions for the next week.
All right.
It's literally anything. Actually, I still think you'll find a chance on geek, because my brain has been off for the past couple days.
All right.
Okay.
So, in the category of directors, who directed Forrest Gump? And just to remind you,
I feel like I should really know this.
you have 2 repeats. So, yep, I totally forgot to do that at the beginning. That's on me. Good job,
2
Colton.
repeats. Okay.
2. Yep. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, Anthony.
I don't know directors.
Okay, Ryan.
I always get him and Spielberg confused. Robert Zemeckis.
It is, in fact, Robert Zemeckis.
I should have probably wrote that down, because that's the only name that was going through my head.
Because he also has a lot of collaborations with Tom Hanks, just like Spielberg. So
yeah.
All right, in the category of scores and soundtracks.
Great.
Yeah. Who composed the score to Forrest Gump?
Oh, come on.
No.
Fuck.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ryan.
John Williams.
Anthony.
That is actually what I wrote, John Williams.
Okay, the correct answer was Alvin Silvestri.
Oh, okay.
No.
In the category of Oscars.
Oh my God, do you hate me?
No, wait. What film has given Joaquin Phoenix his only Oscar?
What film gave him his only Oscar?
Yep.
Oh.
Wait, is it? Is it the CC?
Anthony, don't overthink it.
4, 3, 2,
Yeah.
1. Anthony?
Is it Joker?
Ryan?
That's what I have too. Joker. Wait.
Both of you are correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was Walk the Line or Joker.
In the
He was nominated
category,
for Walk the Line, you know that. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
in the category of Adam Sandler movies,
Better.
Oh,
what Adam Sandler film has performances by David Spade, Chris Rock, Kevin James, and Stone Cold Steve Austin? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ryan?
Grown Ups 2?
Anthony?
Grown-ups too.
That is correct.
Seriously?
Yeah.
All right. In the category of spy movies, how many James Bond movies does Pierce Brosnan play the title character? Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. And Anthony?
4.
Ryan?
Hopefully, No Time to Die gets released so Daniel Craig can break it. 4.
Both of those are correct.
I've been waiting for No Time to Die for so long.
In the category of sci-fi fantasy, how many rings of power were forged in The Lord of the Rings and the Fellowship of the Ring?
You cut out for in the middle. I just need a quick repeat.
How many rings of power were forged in The Lord of the Rings and the Fellowship of the Ring? 5,
Okay.
4, 3, 2, 1. And Ryan
20.
and Anthony.
I think I'm gonna know this. I said 9.
And 20 is correct.
Okay.
All right.
9 is one of the powers that were given to the men, so it's like I was thinking single digits at first.
In the category of horror thriller, who played Ellen Ripley in the Alien franchise?
One day you will ask a horror thriller question that's actually difficult. that maybe someone that doesn't like horror thrillers is not going to know.
Or you get someone who actually has Shudder and they've watched a marathon of horror films.
Anthony?
Sigourney Weaver.
Ryan?
Yeah, I don't know how to say her first name, so it's like spell out her first name, Sigourney Weaver.
I think you spelled it better than I did.
Both of those are correct. All right. In the category of movie release dates, in what year did Braveheart come out?
Maybe.
Okay. I know the decade, so it's that. So
It's usually where I'm around.
5,
I'm looking like a century, right?
2, 1. Ryan?
95?
God damn it.
Anthony?
I don't know if it's right, but I also said 95.
You are both correct.
Holy crap.
Oh, man, that was like my most unconfident answer.
In the category of westerns, who plays Doc Holliday in Tombstone?
Wait.
Wait.
No, that's.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Anthony?
Val Kilmer.
Ryan?
He has yet to defile himself, Val Kilmer.
And you are both correct. And the last question. In the category of animated movies, how many Pixar movies have been theatrically released?
Like total?
Yes.
Sweet.
Okay.
Can I just go with a lot? Oh God, I have a number. Probably too high.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, Ryan.
I was trying to count them out, so I just went with Blackjack 21.
Anthony.
Oh, with 27.
And the correct answer is 23. And your winner,
So close, 23.
Ryan Payne.
Yeah. No, there we go.
All right, Anthony.
Hold
I'm
on.
going to move you to the back. Ryan, so how do you feel about that?
Pretty. Hold on. Wait, what's up with my? Maybe if I just stand still for once. Here we go. Okay, I am really good. I mean, 10 questions. I felt good, and after like Anthony and I played yesterday, it was just kind of a who the hell knew how this match was going to go. But this was fine. I mean, just a good quick 10 questions to keep the brain fresh. I mean, to keep the mind going. If it doesn't look like I've had a day, I'm having a hard time concealing it right now. But this was still good. This is a good, fun game here. I definitely would love to play again whenever we get another opportunity pops up.
Okay, so
A lot of props to Anthony.
in the live chat here, I was just corrected. The answer was 22 because Soul was not theatrically released. So,
I didn't count Soul in when I was writing it up.
yeah, I did when I was writing the question. So that's my bad. It should have been 22, not 23. But all right.
If I had an extra one, I would have been right. Okay.
But okay, so next week you will play this individual.
Oh, me.
Yes.
I was expecting a wheel. I was not expecting to be put on here. Well, that's good. I only missed that Pixar one because I can't count.
I'm on the same thing as well, man. My counting sucks.
Get to play Brian next week. So how do you feel about that?
Me? How do I feel about facing Ryan?
How do you guys feel about?
I've taken count, and I don't think I've ever beat Ryan specifically. So it would be nice to get one somewhere. It would be great.
All right. So
Well,
Robert,
I mean, look, Robert. I personally don't count classics because if that was true, I'd say pretty much 80% of the people I play in classics have already beat me more than 3 times.
Fair enough.
Even then, this is gonna be fun. We're gonna have ourselves a quick one, and honestly, at the same time, whenever any other leagues start shaping up on matches, hey, I might just reach out to some more leagues out there to start playing again.
Yes.
It's been that's one of the most surprising things that's happened throughout my time at home. Never gotten an opportunity to play any match, so this is going to be a first taste test to see what both of us can do one-on-one. I'm looking forward to it.
and of course next week, Robert, you will get to choose if you'd rather have singles questions or geek questions. You do not have to make that decision now. You can if you want to, or you can wait and make the decision next week on the fly. Whichever one you want.
I want to be an agent of chaos, and I want to do it now.
Okay.
I want to do a geek match.
Ooh, cool. I can finally use the geek questions that I wrote 5 weeks ago. Cool.
Yes. Please.
All right. Well, Ryan, I think you gotta go, right?
Well, that was my schedule because when you had reached out to me, I actually got called to come back to work again. So it was like this whole day I was trying to get myself back into the work schedule, but my boss sent me home like 30 minutes before you started. So like I'm available now like until 6:30. At least my time, 6:30. 9:30 would be your time. Or I don't know Coast anymore. I don't know Coast anymore.
All right. Well, if you want to stay on, we're about to talk the Schmoedown, and we're going to talk the Lord of the Rings movies. But if you have to go, I completely understand. Whichever floats your boat.
I guess I can talk for like another couple of minutes unless you have more guests coming on. Like you just cycle me out.
No, we're just gonna have Anthony and Amaru back in here, and then and there we go.
Hello.
That's who reigns this team, because this is the most people I've had in the league. But all right. So, Schmoedown, as our Schmoedown guy, Amaru, how do you feel about your draft status?
You saw the reaction.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that. Not one damn bit. Not with sand picking. But I'm okay with that because very truthfully, I am not getting on many shows afterwards when I thought people would be asking me, and I am okay with that because y'all can just keep forgetting about me and talk about Thomas Harper and talk about the exchange, their rookies, and what they're doing, and let me just be me. I'm good with that. So I like give me the number 2 without the number 2 hype. That's good. If you're gonna put the number 2 hype on me, I'll try to live up to it. I'm just trying to do everything to keep the pressure all the way down. So,
yeah, I understand. Like I was watching, I was so happy to hear you. Like I had such a good reaction. My wife thought I was dying. It was an entire thing. Like I'm so glad it wasn't on camera because I was just like, yep, good times. But yeah, so I've got the draft list up here. I strategically made sure and I wrote it all down because I thought, okay, we'll record next Saturday and next for that show, and I'll make sure I'm prepared. Was there any people during the 7 rounds that did not get drafted that you expected to get drafted? Or was there someone who went somewhere that you weren't predicting? And I'm asking that to the entire panel, not just
I mean, the only person I think that should have had their name said during the draft was Rachel Silvestrini. Her being the last pick is an absolute joke. She should have gotten her name said and should have been picked up earlier. I honestly don't think she worked. She got hit because they tried to make her a heel. She got teamed up with Goddard, who I don't think was a good teammate, and it looked bad for her during their matches. She is a much better player than that. She deserved to get her name said, and that was the one person I think absolutely got shafted during the draft. That was the one. Outside of that, maybe the people that were like late to the party, I like them. I think they're good, and I think they're fun, and they probably should have been in. But you haven't seen them in a while, so sometimes that's tough. But yeah, Rachel for me was the absolute why is she not getting her name said.
I also agree with that too. I was upset that not only she was picked last, she was picked in the whole Twitter supplemental draft. Like, I also think that because her character was made to be a heel last season, it wasn't that it didn't land well. It was just the problem was that with her, she's naturally funny. She's naturally likable. I've seen her music mayhem in movies, show, podcast. She's fantastic. But it was like during the Schmoedown is either just the way she made character choices that just weren't coming off to everyone in the group, and at the same time, it was her record that also was speaking to everybody. Like everyone was trying to look at records on who would get drafted where. But I thought she was starting to get her stride with Ben and the Pride. I mean, I thought it was an off pairing at first, but they kept playing, they kept winning matches, and she did a really good job against Final Exam. I was just kind of upset that, nothing against anybody on there, especially Umar. It was just like with the whole rookie list that Christian had posted out, it really kind of superseded so many of the returning veterans that come back in, like late to the party, including along with like most recently on the I don't think Will Father was he didn't play well last season, but he made a big impression with his character that I thought was also a big missed opportunity for someone in the draft. Maybe not during the live draft, but like in the supplemental picks.
I would say anybody who had a modicum of success, who has already been mentioned, who didn't get drafted, like late to the party. You know, Warfather had a bit of success, mostly from the character standpoint. Sean Chandler.
He had one winner in singles match, so yeah.
Yeah. One name from the fan leagues that didn't get drafted is someone a few people here know of, James Shimo. I know how good he is at stuff, and I thought somebody would take a flyer on him, but I guess not. Otherwise, I just kind of mirror what Anthony and Ryan have already said, because there's a few people there who.
I was a little sad, but also worried that people didn't know Shimo enough, because I know where his skill is. I know he can kill it. Just even like backstage being the first thing that people really saw him on, and then not really anybody else after like seeing him. I'm just like, damn, he is not getting enough shine. And if draft comes around and he's still the same, I'm like, he may like randomly get picked in a Twitter draft, and I was just hoping somebody would grab him because I know how good that man is. And I was just like, damn. The other one I was more surprised didn't get picked up that I thought would was Sean Chandler. I figured somebody would pick him up with just his knowledge, the amount of movies he goes through a year, personality. I thought he would get picked. So,
so is there anyone that you guys can think of that you either they didn't get picked where you thought they would, or they got picked later? For an example, mine. Yes, Amara. You absolutely deserve that spot. So
should have been number one. He, number two is a shame. It's a crime.
But like having Ace be drafted by Swag, be their third pick, is a tragedy. Like like if Swag had picked up Laura and then Ace, they could have still picked up Zipper, I think. But Ace was just the number one contender. Like someone else could have picked him up, and you would think Winston would be loyal to his boys. And then the dungeon drafting Jericho. Like I am a huge wrestling fan. Wrestling is my jam, but he is. I know he's good for the league. He's famous and all that, but he is not good at the game. Like I am not good at singles, but I could play Chris Jericho.
I mean, it was a pickup for points because you get a high-profile person, they'll play more.
Yeah,
but more views when you have somebody. Kevin Smith is going to play more. That's why Corey probably used it as the third pick in the free agency. Jericho's going to play more because he's a high-profile person. So
now he's
more matches means more points. Even if they have a chance to win. If you lose, you don't lose points. Well, I guess you might if you get KO'd, but I don't really know the rules that well. But it's a chance that you're willing to take to get more matches. And they're not going to put Jericho against top class. They're going to put him against some barely someone that's on the B league. Basically, Christina, who's looking at me right now, would be a Jericho match.
Yeah, but he has now came out and tweeted that he won't play for anyone other than Roxy. So just knowing that, I mean, it's probably storyline.
I don't know if it's storyline as well. I don't want to interrupt, but I understand what you're trying to go with here. Like this could be just a bit of like kayfabe following in there, but even Roxy has said, and I follow her show. I've listened to her on Thera. She said Jericho has even told her he'll play for nobody but her. And maybe Kaiser, because Kaiser did a draft in the supplemental. Chris Van Vliet, he's a wrestling personality, an interviewer. So I'm pretty sure and I've seen that he's done interviews with Jericho in the past. So I'm pretty sure maybe Kaiser drafting Van Vliet was kind of his way of wanting to have more discussions with Jericho to see if he was serious that he's not going to play for him. Because I do believe that Jericho getting drafted by Kaiser it felt to where Kaiser felt like it was a moment of weakness, or it was like a judgment choice, because he's a wrestling fan. So he thought, oh, Jericho's this far down. He's like, oh, I'll pick him. And maybe he thought it was going to work. Like, because I remember last season, the first draft, Kalinowski said he would not play for anybody but Shannon. And it was more of people not wanting to call on that bluff. And Shannon picks him. But then with Jericho, when we hear the same sentiments, he'll play for no one but Roxy. Maybe this was Kaiser trying to call on that bluff, and now we're seeing that Jericho was dead serious about it.
Yeah, I would assume it was. I mean, to me, it's blustery. It's a thing to build up potential rivalries against additional factions. We didn't see them coalesce, or we didn't see them compete against each other as much. So I don't know. I mean, I agree with Anthony. It's anytime Jericho wants to be like, hey, put me on a match, they're like, throw down about, you're maybe you're not the headliner, maybe you are, even depending on what the card looks like, but you're probably the B storyline there, and that's fine. Just based on your previous question, Colton, the people I thought would be drafted higher, just based on prognostication. Laura Kelly, I figured she would be a first round pick easy, and I guess that didn't happen. And then Janine. Everybody has such a glowing opinion about Janine. I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying they have a glowing opinion of her in the Schmoedown, and I figured she would be a top 2 round pick, and she wasn't that either. So
they took a flyer. A lot of people took a flyer on a bunch of rookies early. So this kind of just knocked everybody down. So hey,
if rookies are hungry, some the established people might not. They might be like, "Yo, I've already done this. Like, I'll be set." And then rookies are going to come in ready to prove themselves. So I would imagine that's probably a lot of the reasons. Like, you're going, you might be taking a stab, but rookies are going to come in firing. Hopefully, I mean, especially people that have played. There's a few that, I know nothing at all about, zero, other than a personality. So I'll be interested to see, like, are they going to come in and really showcase that they study, that they try? Like, I know Jesse Swift is studying like crazy. There's no doubt in my mind. He put a lot of effort into getting drafted. There's no way he's going to go down without a fight anytime he plays. And there are a lot of other people that's just like, I've never seen you in a family league, in a match, in anything in my life. I'm curious. I'll admit I'm curious, but, it's kind of one of those of see what happens. So a lot of people that were drafted, I was like, I don't know who you are. And you might have been drafted too high. You might have been drafted too low. We'll find out later.
All right. And was there any moment for you guys where you were watching the draft and you got like anxious or anything? Like for me, it was going into the 7th round, only knowing that there were going to be 7 televised rounds. Like I was watching that, and until Christina got drafted, I was like, the 4 are not going to get drafted. And I was upset. And then Roxy did her thing, and I was so happy.
Yeah, that's exactly the point I was going to say. Is that's what I was anxious, because I'm literally sitting right next to her on a stream with like 12 people all watching, just like there's like 3 picks left in this draft. Like maybe she gets supplemental, but what's the fun in that? Like we want to be able to celebrate. We want to be able to yell. And then I mean, I kind of had a feeling that I didn't think Roxy was going to pick her up. It works for me. She gets to be with Jacoby, but I kind of had a feeling that if Roxy didn't, Corruption probably would have taken her with the last pick. So I felt like she was going to go, but I was still kind of like, is she going to go?
Which was funny because Christina was talking and probably talking behind with us all leading up to the draft. Like, look, I don't care if I'm the last pick called. Like, I am good with that. The only reason my anxiety levels were going down, because that's the same thing, was Christina was very much like, look, I am okay. I am good not getting called. But that still was like, come on, somebody do it. Somebody. And so we were very happy when Roxy called her name. And Aaron's reaction just made it so much better.
I was actually kind of on the opposite with Christina, because I had the utmost confidence that she would get drafted. But yeah, I was starting to get worried when they were on like the last 2 rounds. But for me, I was actually watching the draft alongside with James Shimo. When we weren't hearing his name after the 4th, 5th round, we started to get nervous. Like, okay, he's not getting drafted live. And then we thought, on the last round, it was kind of like, okay, it was like now or never. And then when Finstock was announcing his pick for Jeffrey Kahn, that little like build up, and when he said king, I mean, because we all know James calls himself the King of Hearts in when he plays. When we heard that, we thought James and I thought he got drafted onto the Finstock exchange, and then he did that, and then he finished up by saying Jeffrey Kahn. We were extremely pissed off that happened. We didn't even care if he got drafted by the rest, by the Stars, by Swag, by Corruption, because we were just so pissed off at what happened. And I thought, okay, no live, he'll get supplemental. Didn't hear that from soon, but I think that's okay because James, if he's willing to play for that first class league, believe me, he's coming in with fire. And whoever they put him, if he does get the first class league, whoever they put him up against, they better not overlook him. They better not be looking at like backstage or Schmoedown North to see what he's like. He is going to destroy whoever he's put in front of him.
That boy good.
Yeah, all right. So my last question, and then we're going to move on to talking about Lord of the Rings and stuff. Amara, you won't be able to answer this one because I'll know your answer. But who do you think is going to come out at the end of this faction race this year? I guess, Amara, you can answer, but just remember you're a part of the faction, so if you don't say that faction, I don't know what you're doing here.
That's super tough.
I will answer as if the suspects don't exist. That's
okay.
I will answer as if the suspects don't exist. Who, like, off the surface, quote unquote, worries me the most. We're not in it yet, so I don't know. But just off of looking, the Den looks pretty damn good overall, because they have a bunch of people ready to prove themselves and who have their due coming. So I think if it isn't with us not being in there, I'm looking at the Den as one of them. A lot. I had mentioned somewhere else before. There's hella parity across the board this year. Every squad is kind of stacked, except for now Finstock until we see what they can actually do. And still, their top three are good. We gotta get a little bit more proven, but every squad has a lot of good players.
I will say I have a qualifier, kind of. If McWeeny comes back, I don't know, 80% plus what he was, then I will go ahead and I will say the suspects. But if that's not the case, just based on who I expect to get a lot of matches and stuff, I will say the Dungeon. Because they'll get a lot of bites of the apple. And they have the guys who can, swallow those bites. So I would say the suspects, depending on McWeeny, if not the Dungeon.
Looking at these, it's tough. Like the usual suspects have a lot of really good people, but there also are. I know one rookie is very good. The rest of the rookies, I don't know too much about. It's going to be another one of those, like, you have to see. There's going to be that B team that needs to get points and the B squad that needs to get points, which you don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, the Den obviously is very good if, Goddard kind of picks up a little bit more. I love Paul Preston. Obviously, Peggy's there. I got to root for that. I keep looking because the Rockstars do have a lot of rookies, but you have Damon, who's obviously going to be top-tier Star Wars all the time. You have the champions of teams. You still have Snyder and Draco in singles. And I'm looking forward to seeing, hopefully, a Jacoby Janine team, which I think is going to be able to really take down some established people because they are both underrated and very good. People are going to not look at them, and then they're going to go down. I mean, obviously, I'm going to say that because my wife's on it. But also, I think if, she knows her stuff, she has help from, she'll get help and she will study and she can take down a couple of those other B competitors. We were watching a draft and watching some people get drafted. And I was like, yo, Christine, you can beat that person. I know you can beat that person and you can beat that person. So there are people in there, like when you go to the B squad, when you need points, she can get points. The Felix guy's going to moneyball this thing, and he's going to have a lot of good ideas. It's going to help the whole team. as well. So I like that team as well, and that is not a full-on bias because I'm married to someone in it.
Yeah, that's I guess for me, I can't really judge just from the draft alone, but if I have to go from like looking at the data from last year, to me the big contenders are of course the top three of Swag, Stars, and Corruption though. But if I'd have to say, I mean the Mercs, they were starting to at least look like they were finding their footing after the IG tournament, and seeing the fact that Koi, he's got himself a good balance here. I mean, getting a good Star Wars player with Eric Whiteley. I mean, picking up some good rookies out of Rick Radditt. Josh Horowitz and Beth May. It looks like Koi wants to not to bring a balance here, but kind of have people like Bibbs and the kid be a good foundation and have them really be good coaches to help encourage the others. Because we saw what happened when Bibiani, who is a 100% veteran, could be paired with someone like Brendan, who was still learning the game, and you saw exactly how those two came together. Seeing now if you get Bibbs as sort of like not just a player, but almost in a way of a coach, an inspirational coach and advisor to some of these rookies coming in, I wouldn't be surprised to see great performances out all of them from everyone in the Mercs. But I think ultimately in the end, I'm actually gonna stick it with Swag on this one. I mean, Winston showed he was not playing last year, and now that he's reunited himself with Eric Zipper back on, and the Zipper just like Preston was someone who was unlucky last season, but has so much potential. That with Winston in his corner now, and having such good players who have great gig knowledge, like Laura Kelly, like Andres Cabrera and Star Wars helping him out, and then also picking up a few people like Vinny Mancuso and Jen Kemp and Haley Fauch. He's got himself a very stacked deck on him, honestly. So I'm definitely going to give this one. I'm going to give the edge to Winston.
Alrighty. Well, I choose the dungeon because you can't. They've got a pretty good roster, but let's go ahead and let's talk some Lord of the Rings.
Anthony's favorite. He gets top billing on this. He should start first. He should go. Come on.
Movies suck. They all suck.
Okay, yeah, we've established that from previous episodes.
Okay, I'll let Cole start before I go.
All right, so the last two times I've asked everyone who their favorite character in the movie was and their least favorite character, and if that has changed between the movies. So, what about you guys? Like, literally, I don't think mine has changed at all. It's Sean Astin as Samwise Gamgee, and my least favorite character is Frodo. He is more of a tool bag in this movie than he is in the other two combined.
No.
He made Rudy cry. Come on. You don't do that. But like
There's someone not crying in that movie.
Everyone's crying in those movies.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. This is not a shot at the direction or so, but it's just kind of like it's like a nice side joke. Like every time Sam sheds a tear, or whenever you see someone like Liv Tyler shed a tear, you go, "When is somebody not crying in these movies? For Christ's sake!"
But
yeah, Hobbit. Go ahead, keep going.
And I can't think of any favorite character in Unexpected Journey. They're all kind of just the same. I do like Bilbo a whole lot, but besides Thorin, all the dwarves just blend together. So I don't want to say for me, Bilbo, and I don't think I have a least favorite character.
Mines have changed to the Return of the King. So in Two Towers, I think like my favorite was it was close tie between Treebeard and Legolas, and then yes, Frodo. Frodo is still trash. I do not like him. But I'll talk about my least favorite next. He continuously becomes like closer and closer to my favorite, and I think it's in the Return of the King where I officially picked Gimli as my favorite. because of the jokes he gets off after everything Legolas does that's so damn cool. So Legolas goes off, and I'm like, hell yeah. And then Gimli makes a joke, and like that just caps off everything. That is perfect. So I really like Gimli in this one. But I'll tell you, he is a better character than Frodo. Just a better character for what's going on. But I hate Denethor. I do not like Denethor at all. He's creepy. He's just and John Noble just does creepy so well that you just hate him even more. So Denethor takes over my least favorite character, even though he does a great ass job at it.
All right, so Anthony, since you love these movies so much, let us know about it.
Look, the movies got better after the first one. The first one was strictly just, I don't know what was going on. We're just walking here and there. Everyone's splitting up. Obviously, there's chaos here. Oh, look at that. That's a whole lot of my face. In the end, this movie is basically just called, it should just be called like Deus Ex Machina of things going for in the benefit of whoever needs to go for it. Something bad's going to happen. Guess what's going to happen? Something appears, or someone gets stabbed at the last second. Of, hey, now you're saved. Now everything's okay. Everything's going to be fine. That's all this movie was. And you have the worst part about this movie is the ending, because there's 15 of them. Like, just end the damn movie. You've already made me sit here for 3+ hours of watching people walk, disappear, meet up again, eagles flying. Oh, wait, yeah. Remember the eagles that should have been there in the first one? They appear, and hey, guess where they are? Friggin' Mount Doom. I also was unaware that this giant eye thing that Sauron has, once the ring gets, like, eviscerated in the lava, that just explodes. I didn't know they were connected in that way. It's basically like when you, in the Avengers, you take out the Chitauri thing, and apparently they all are electronic and die because that goes down. It doesn't make any sense. There's so many things in this that are just wrong, that it's just, hey, this terrible thing's going to happen. But at the last second, someone saves them. Yay! Congratulations. I don't get it. This one does have great fight scenes. I will never say that. I've said this about the last two. I enjoy the fight scenes. Rue, I agree with you. Gimli is my favorite. The comedic aspects that he adds to this are great. But also, you guys said it. People are crying all the time. I mean, other than me in the theaters watching it, because I was bored and the tears were coming out, everyone in this movie's crying. Everyone's sad. I don't get it. Like, tears of joy, tears of sadness, tears of I'm bored, tears of I walk too much, tears of I kicked the helmet and now I'm in pain. That's all this is. And it's a boring movie with a couple good scenes and then a 25 to 40-minute ending that should have been 5. It's not that good.
That was so fun.
While I disagree with what you say, I respect your right and defend it to the death. Your right to say it.
Thank you. That's all I ask.
It does make sense that you wouldn't understand the sense that the ring going to destroying Sauron does make sense, because you slept through the exposition of the first 2 movies, so you wouldn't get it when it happens.
I could only listen to people talk for like 20 minutes, and then I need something to happen. If you're gonna give me an exposition for 30+ minutes, I'm out.
I think most of it has to do with Jackson's his direction, how he shoots camera work, unfortunately. Well, of course, when these movies came out, we saw them. They were critically applauded. They were really well beloved amongst most of the majority. But then on rewatch, you're really starting to see the cracks in his work. His constant zooming of close-up on characters, especially if you've seen Return of the King, the way he portrays Denethor. Like, I get he wants Denethor to come off as someone of a tragic character, as someone who's honorable and nobly, but falls apart when his sons are taken from him. But he doesn't give John Noble much good direction. So I would have to say Denethor is one. Denethor and Frodo are definitely one of my least favorite characters. I mean, at least with Brad Dourif as Wormtongue, he was professional enough to understand what character Jackson wanted out of him. But other than that, one thing with these movies, I go on rewatching. I used to think the Return of the King was my favorite because of the battle scenes, the way the score worked. And yeah, I used to hate those constant endings. But then looking at the entire journey that we got, I actually don't mind that we have all these conclusions to these characters. We have a conclusion to Aragorn's story. We have a conclusion to Frodo's story, a Gandalf's story, and then finally it ends on Sam, to where it's like literally you're closing the book on something that you dedicated nearly 6 years. I mean, Peter Jackson must have dedicated like 4 years to put together, while us with them being spread apart every 2 years to watch these movies. No, every 1 year, every 1 year. So like we went with these characters for 3 years, so I'm okay with those multiple endings. But yeah, at times they are very tedious if you're really not trying to focus yourself on in. Like you would see why from exposition point, Kate Blanchett, Hugo Weaving, and even sometimes Christopher Lee and Ian McKellen can be very useless if they're just there for info dumps. But all in all, I still love all 4 of their characters. My favorite, obviously, really looking back on it, my favorite character is actually Merry, because he has a small arc throughout each film, which you do see. And even with Pippin, I mean, sure, his is rushed in the 3rd one, but you do see at least in the 2nd one, he and Merry are trying to become more proactive into wanting to fight instead of finding themselves constantly dragged into something like Frodo and Sam were. I mean, even though they had a mission, you clearly see the moment they're with Faramir, that plot grinds to a stall. With Merry and Pippin, you at least see something is in the works.
Ryan, good up on you. I said Merry the last time for 2 Towers, so good on you for that. Colton, I'm with you. I think Sam's probably still my favorite, but in this movie, Aragorn has my favorite part. That much like everybody in the movie, I cry every time at the end when he goes to the Hobbits, and he goes, "My friends, you kneel to no one." I tear up every time. I don't know what it is. I can't help it. I know it's coming.
That is a very powerful part.
So Aragorn taking the mantle, and he was always a leader. That was very obvious, but having it shined and put on a pedestal puts him in the conversation for greatest character or best character for that movie. I also like Eowyn, obviously. Fighting the structures of what it means to be a soldier and what it means to serve and knowing your place. My least favorite character in that movie, maybe somewhat controversially, is Faramir, because he's just whiny and doesn't have doesn't have a mind of his own. He just kind of goes with his dad until he's hurt, and then he's about to get burnt. Not for Pippin. He just sat there and took it. So I actually don't like Faramir in that movie.
In the extended editions, he's paired with Éomer in the end. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah,
it's like you're rewarding him.
Here's the pants of that relationship for sure. I don't even think it's close. In The Hobbit, I really like Radagast because he's like that cool hobo guy who you meet on the streets who has way more pearls of wisdom than he really should have. But you just love everything that he says. He's like Gimli in the way, like, he's putting up a lot of shots. He's putting up a lot of comedic shots, and a lot of them are falling. He's shooting like 45% from 3. That's what he's doing in that movie. And then least favorite, I don't know, Azog because he's a dick. Who knows?
I have I guess maybe a mild, possibly hot take on my least favorite in Unexpected Journey. And it's Thorin. Thorin's a dick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thorin's an asshole, a dick, and continuously Bilbo shows him he's up for it, and he doesn't believe him. Thorin can kick rocks for sometimes.
Yeah, his character he's consistently sabotaging that fellow. He's sabotaging the group every step of the way, doubting Bilbo, and then in Destiny into the Smog, he keeps holding on to the past by not accepting the help of Thranduil, even though he slightly could be right not to trust him. And then, of course, you see in Battle of Five Armies, they get dragon sickness as an excuse. But even if he didn't fall under the sway of that gold, he still would not have given rewards of that treasure because he's a dick, because he holds on to the past. No one came to help us. People blame us for the dragon. So it's like he is mostly at fault for all the fallings that happened to the dwarves throughout the entire run of that movie. it almost feels justified his character dies in the end.
He's like
I only
Saruman.
watched the first one like this week. I only watched Unexpected Journey because I never watched the other two.
That's better.
I watched it because I was told to for this show specifically, and I did, and I regret it. And we lost Colton.
We did.
We did. Anthony, in light of what you said about not knowing why the barred door goes down when the ring goes in, I will say the one thing every time I watch Return of the King at the end that I don't understand is that when the shockwave happens, I want to know, like, do they have a perimeter? Like, who set the boundaries of Mordor? They were like, the boundary's right there. That's where everything collapses, and everybody on that side's cool.
Oh, you didn't know they had surveyors back then?
No,
they had with the little cameras, like check-in, surveying the land, making sure that this is your plot of land.
Yeah.
And if you put your fence on the other side, you will be sued by your neighbor.
The orcs have shot collars. If they go beyond, then all hell breaks loose. That's the only part that gets me.
They have their own trackers for the ground and knew exactly where they were, so it just followed them and swallowed them, and only them because magic. Right? Because
magic. Oh, yeah, because magic exists now. Well, in The Hobbit, apparently, now magic exists, while in the other three, Gandalf was pointless. I haven't even gotten to my Hobbit rant yet. I'll wait until we're done with Return of the King. Because
I may have like a Hobbit rant too, but one thing I look at the Hobbit. But I will say a few silver linings of that Hobbit trilogy. I mean, even though the dwarves were really underutilized or overshadowed, at least the character of Balin, I actually did not mind because he was the one among the dwarf company who had any common sense, any like wisdom to spare. Like he had some good, and I forget the guy, the one who speaks to Bilbo in Unexpected Journey, who's asking him. Yes, the one who tells him to come back, and then also the one who tries to get him and also Bard to leave. Because after the dragon is awakened, he's him and Balin are the two dwarves I actually see as a great silver lining. Because
I don't know if Anthony, real quick, I don't know if Anthony cares, but remember, don't spoil the other two for him.
Okay.
You haven't seen them yet?
I have not.
I don't say with Biffer, the actor who plays Biffer, James Nesbitt, his daughters aren't in the mill. They play Bard, the woman's daughters. So I like that kind of acting little circle in that movie.
Yeah. So I don't know what just happened, but I'm so glad StreamYard works well because I just got kicked off my internet and y'all still were talking.
Oh, yeah,
you don't have to keep rolling if you're going, so it's fine. They keep going if you're gone.
Yeah,
so
yeah. So it worked great. I was so happy to get back and hear y'all still talking. But I will say I still think Return of the King is my favorite movie of all time. Like I love it. Like every single time. Those 40 endings, they're great and they make me cry like a big baby. And all of that. Like I love it. But Anthony, so we're gonna go back to your hey, how do you feel about The Hobbit? Go ahead and go on your little rant before you gotta leave here.
Yeah, I gotta head out here in a second. Well, I finally watched The Hobbit, and I know a lot of people do not like this movie, so I feel better about saying terrible things about this movie because this movie is horrible. All the dwarves are there, like other than Thorin, who we already have discussed, is a dick. They're there for shitty comic relief. It's all terrible. They like two of them look like they make up like 90% of them, and then two of them are just regular. I guess those guys were like, I'm not sitting in that makeup chair, so you can't make me, and I'm going to look different than everyone else. And I don't get it. Every time they're like, oh, Bilbo, yeah, you're small. You can hide in places. They're all the same friggin' height. They were the same height as him. They're all small. They can all do the same stuff. I don't get it. It makes no sense. In this movie, when I talk about Deus Ex Machina, guess what had happened? There were 3 actual fight scenes in this movie, not including the hey, this dwarf was fighting New York kind of thing. 3. The trolls, the goblin-looking things, the guy with the giant ball sack that's on his neck, and then the other orc fight at the end. And guess what happened at the end of all 3 of them? Gandalf shows up to save the day. Gandalf shows up to save the day. Gandalf sends a butterfly off, or a bird or something, and then guess what shows up? Friggin' birds to save the day. It was so dumb that these dwarves are supposed to be these great warriors, and they would have died every single time if it's not for some magic man to save the day in the end. And each time Bilbo does something sort of to help them save it as well. You get a sword that just magically glows blue just because, hey, plot device, we need to keep the plot moving. no characters in this were actually fun. I really like Martin Freeman. I actually liked him I like him as an actor. He's probably the only person I enjoyed in this movie. No one else really did anything. Yeah, the weird little, I don't know, I forgot his name, Rama, or the other wizard, whatever his name was. He always went cross-eyed all the time for some reason, just because weird things are happening. I'm going to go cross-eyed and be odd. That's all it was. It made no sense. And then you're telling me, at the very end of this movie, after years and years and years of this dragon and all of this gold and all these wars that have occurred, he woke up because a bird was cracking a nut on the side of a building. A giant castle building. That woke him up? Are you kidding me? There has to be more stuff happening. A wind, a giant hurricane can probably happen and make more noise than this one stupid little sparrow just going click, click, click. No, that's not what happens. That was stupid. It's awful. It makes no sense. And again, the amount of times they're like, oh, let's fight. No. The amount of times Gandalf just said, run. If you can count the amount of times in this movie someone said, run, probably at least 80% of the verbiage in this thing, all they did was run. Oh, run away from this, run away from this. Oh, now we'll fight. And then Gandalf will save the day. Congrats. You guys are awesome warriors. Wizard saving the day. That's my rant.
You can make a run. You can make an EDM song out of that. You can make memes and EDM music out of that.
I will say, nobody yells run like Ian McKellen. That man is amazing at yelling run. I
would run. Even if I was sitting on a chair and he yelled it. I almost ran out of my chair just because he gave me that thought.
Yeah. I be getting a calf workout if he tells me to run. If I'm sitting in my chair, it's like, run. It's like, okay.
He'd make R. Kelly believe he could fly.
Excellent.
But I don't know if anyone mentioned it while I was off playing on my internet, but I do love the Gollum and Bilbo.
Except Bilbo's
riddle.
Other than that.
Yeah, I love all of that. That is my favorite part of this movie because it's something that happens in the book. And I was like, oh, it's very interesting how they did that. And then, it leads into him almost killing Gollum. And he instead shows mercy, which then relates to the Fellowship of the Ring, where Frodo asks Gandalf why Bilbo spared him. And he was like, all that fun stuff.
Because of the foreshadowing that Gandalf had earlier when he said it takes more strength to save than to kill or whatever. So, AKA foreshadowing. You really thought that he was going to kill him? Of course he wasn't, because Gandalf said it earlier in the movie. It's the most blatant foreshadowing I've ever seen. Sorry, that was the end of my rant. I probably have more, but I'm done.
All right. So,
what was the idea of the rush storyline with the love interest between Tauriel and Keeley? If that was such a disrespect to Evangeline Lilly.
Second movie, he has not seen it yet.
Oh,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a spoil. I didn't spoil what happens to them. I just said that there's a rush storyline with them.
It's not going to matter.
Yeah. So, in the next week, Anthony, you get to watch that. So, Desolation of Smaug, which good luck. So, Anthony, do you have anything to plug or anything before you got to head out?
Yes, before I leave, I will do a quick plug. Obviously, I always plug Feature Presentation Presents, FPTL on Sunday, and then the Fancy Film Fights, which me and Brew were just on this past Wednesday with the fantastic one, which I won again because that's 3 for 3 on Rotten Tomatoes. I will not win the fourth one because those are way too classy movies for me. Additionally, on Opening Night Trivia League, I have my own show called Working Title, where you pitch a movie. I give you a couple scenarios, then you come on and you pitch a movie to me. Everyone except for Robert has been on here. One day I will get you on there whenever you feel like you want to join. But it's just for fun. There's no championship. There's no winning. It's basically I say if your movie's better than the other one, and my opinion means nothing because I don't like Lord of the Rings and everyone else here does. So clearly my opinion means nothing. That's it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I can't wait to see you again next week. Do you have anywhere where anyone can find you if they're looking for you?
I mean, I'm on Facebook. You can find me on all the different family things. And I'm in Twitter where I do literally nothing but like every thing that says any of the family for, and sometimes retweet when it's important, under Getting Tizzy. GETTINTIZZY, because we're trying to get tizzy with it. That's what I was trying to get going, but it hasn't happened. So I'm there. I don't do much, but I'm around.
All right. Well, I'll catch you around, Anthony. I can't
Good
wait.
seeing everybody. Until next time.
All right.
Love it.
All right. So we're gonna move on to TV. How many episodes of WandaVision have you guys watched?
All of them.
Okay.
So
I just watched the
Watch
recent
today.
one this morning. And I was gonna watch it again later tonight.
Okay.
I haven't watched it yet.
I have a standing date with my wife that we watch them after work.
That makes
No,
sense. So
no.
say nothing.
Okay.
No worry. Don't
All
worry.
right. So we will review.
I'll head out if you guys start, whatever.
So we are going to review.
We can control ourselves. We can. I used to wait until maybe like 8:00 to watch Mandalorian. Like the moment it drops, so I was like, it's literally an art now to dodge fucking spoilers on social media. Like it's like that. It's like the chop the Fruit Ninja game, like you would do on Oculus now or on your phone. It's just like that's how it is with spoilers now.
But yeah. So what we're going to do is we'll talk about the first 4 episodes, and then let Robert out, and then I guess Amara's got to leave too in just a few minutes. So what we'll probably do is we'll review Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1, Season 2 next week. Amara will do that. So we'll do 1 through 4 real quick, what everyone's thoughts are on the first 4 episodes, and then we'll let Robert go, and then we'll talk about episode 5. Spoiler alert for anyone who is watching this who has not seen WandaVision. You have 10 seconds.
Spoiler.
Will I be a dick and say something before that's done? No, we saw people come back from the snap. And in 3 minutes of episode 4, you get more emotion than entire 2.5 hours of Wonder Woman 84.
Amen.
Oh
like
shit!
I like it.
He is right on that point. Even though I do enjoy 84, despite its faults, but he is right on that.
Yeah, we only saw the snap or the blip in a comedic sense or in a heroic sense. We never saw it in a tragic sense, and that's
Far From Home.
awesome.
Yeah, Far From Home really put a comedic spin on that. So when people were really undercutting how serious it was, I'm glad that WandaVision really shows you the real dramatic sense. Like even with so many other like YouTube channels or people making fun of the whole thing, like, oh, what happened to this person if they get blipped back and comedy. But I do like we do get a very dramatic sense, especially from Monica's point of view, which is for cool. Goddamn.
So episode 4 makes the other 3 episodes that much more special. I'm one of the ones who have loved this show from the jump, but still agree with the people who think 1 and 2 just being the straight comedies is a little too slow. So just like how Robert talks about Anthony, like he loves it, but respects his opinion. I respect the opinion. And I thought, okay, you know what? It's getting a little much, but I am enjoying every second of it. I really like that. This is what I'm going into thinking about. And I think the 3rd episode was perfect for them to start really, really getting into that balance of real life with the comedies. And then 4th episode, just pulling the rug out of everything. Like, oh, y'all were complaining? Well, here, I'm giving you everything, almost everything right now. So I liked the first 2 episodes. I thought they were fun. I thought they give you a little bit of snippets here and there. They had great cameos from like Deborah Jo Rupp from that 70s show. My dude who was the husband who has the great voice. I can never remember his name.
Yes.
Who did a bunch of things. And I love Catherine Hahn. I think she's great. She's hamming it up the perfect amount of time, a perfect amount. And also, shout out to my girl from Buffy in the 2nd episode. Damn it, I keep forgetting her character name in Buffy.
Emma Caulfield, that's the actress.
Emma Caulfield is the actress. She was the one who was the head of like the committee.
Dottie.
Yeah.
Dottie. Yeah.
So loved all that. I thought it was funny, and I think that the comedy show that Vision and Wanda put on was one of the funniest things I had seen. It's full Paul Bettany at his best, and Elizabeth Olsen is great. So I love those first 2 episodes.
I'm with Rue. My wife and I really enjoyed those first couple because you get to see different sides of not only the characters but the actors. You get to see a potential like multiverse thing where you see, Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen being like the, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz of our time of sorts, because that's the way that they played it up. And I think going from the first couple episodes, going through those, decades of sitcom-y type things into what 3 and 4 become. 3, I very much enjoy. It's just when it gets to the end, when Vision is asking the neighbors about stuff, it seems like it's obstructive for the sake of being obstructive. Like he was there long enough where they could have told him something. I know she's in control of it, Wanda is, but whatever. But when we get to 4 is, even though the other episodes are slow, 4 is like where I have no anticipation for something to be better because it's as good as I want it to be, I'll say. Like everything's going off, starting from jump, moving into getting the background and how it is that what's going on in the outside while this alternate reality is happening. 4, I don't say it's perfect, but I'm saying in comparison and down the line, it's perfect for where it is in the chain of events and episodes. And I'm like Rue. I understand people's opinions about the first couple episodes, but I think it's nice to have that as like a palate cleanser of sorts. Like it's like the sorbet or something that you eat to get your palate, and then you start moving into main course stuff, and that's great. So I have nothing but good things to say about the show. I love it so much.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this train going. I too have nothing but positivity. I loved it the moment episode 1. I mostly, and just like with Rue and Robert, I understand people's criticisms on the weekly release of the show and how some people may say it's slow. But after someone from hearing the same stuff about the Mandalorian from the last 2 seasons, to me, it's kind of like it's Disney Plus, guys. You should have known this with Mandalorian, and depending on what they're going to do with Falcon, Winter Soldier, and Loki. So it should be like, to me, you should know it, but at the same time, I understand because let's be honest, Netflix, Hulu, even Disney Plus, and so many other streaming services have given us so many bingeable shows that we can watch within one sitting. So I can understand that when we're finally getting something that's taking us back to regular TV to watch one episode by week, it can come off as slow. And beyond that, that's how I'm going to end it. But one thing I do love that with the show, first episode, I loved how our view into this world was mainly through Vision, because in that first episode, Vision is the one asking the questions, especially at his job. What do we do here exactly? I mean, while we're all asking, how did this happen? When did this start? The questions that's being directed towards Wanda and Vision should be like, don't focus on what's happening, what happened before. Focus on what's happening right now. And then they keep doing that again in the second one, how Vision and Wanda wants to fit in. And I even love how with Wanda, you start seeing because the first one makes sense. Focus on what's happening right now. Because the moment you start getting the helicopter that you see from the helicopter with the sword logo, and then when you see with the constant like noise bustling from the outside of their home, in a way that's kind of like the outside world is starting to affect, especially that radio scene between Wanda and Dottie. The outside world is starting to affect what's happening inside. So it's more of those first 2 in my mind does work because it's get used to this sitcom-esque world. Because once they do start moving forward, like they do with 3 and 4, you're starting to get an even broader perspective. It's like it's like paint by numbers, or it's kind of like that best example from Daniel Craig in Knives Out. You're looking at the donut, but what about the donut hole with inside the donut?
Yeah.
But just to make sure nothing happens just randomly because he just popped on, I put it in the chat. Again,
Yeah.
Robert has not seen episode 5.
Yeah.
Just to make sure it doesn't randomly get yelled anywhere. Trying to save your life. Robert has not seen episode 5.
Yeah, I'm ignoring the live chat just in case people say that.
Probably good enough time for me to bow out then, I bet.
Yeah, I was going to ask JB3, do you have anything to say about episode 1 through 4? Because I can't talk about this show without talking about episode 5, which is the reason why I've been so quiet, because I have so many things that this show I have predicted or thought was going to happen, and then episode 4 hinted at what I thought was happening, and then episode 5 confirmed it. I can't
I don't
talk
know
about
if Robert knows what you're talking about or not, so I'm just trying to say I really don't want him to get anything spoiled. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
Well, I appreciate that, Rick. Thank you.
One thing I do want to say about episode 4 that was enjoyable was the bringing in back characters like Jimmy Woo and Darcy. Like, I love how we get an explanation, like, what happened with Darcy after Thor Dark World? She's still an intern? She's still, no, she has a doctorate. She's studying astrophysics. And you do see how her character blends well against, government types, not someone like Jane or Eric Selvig. You actually see how her humor fits in the MCU when you take her outside of that, and how her swarminess and how her sass fits as well. So, I mean, I was a fan of Kat Dennings from the first one. I thought she was heavily misused in the second one. So I do like how in episode 4 of WandaVision, she's not only there to help explain what's going on, but at the same time, she's still as clueless as everyone else. Look, I just figured out one thing. I just figured out one thing I was getting from that spear, and I thought, okay, here's how I can help. And then guess what? She's now just like everyone else. She's on the edge of her seat. And I do love the interaction between her and Jimmy. I mean, hell, the fact that Jimmy does the card trick was just...
Oh my... I saw that and I was like, yes, thank you. Thank you, more Ant-Man and Wasp connections.
Yes.
That's why I loved it. Like, you take even Jimmy Woo outside of Ant-Man and Wasp, you see how he works outside of when you take him outside of pure comedic tone, you see how characters even like that can work in shows that can be mildly serious or more dramatic, like what we're seeing with WandaVision.
Yeah, like, there are so many things. Like, I remember watching the first few and seeing the sword logo and stuff, and I'm like, oh, is that little things that just as me as the person who's read comic books for the last 20 years? Is that just a thing for me? And then episode 4 happens, and they're like, no, Sword's an actual organization. And I'm like, oh, I love it. And I sound like a prepubescent teen whenever I geek out like that. It happens. But yeah, like, things happen, and I loved every second of it. But I thought the show has been great. Like, I love the episodic sitcom stuff, and I love the little teases, like the little commercials inside of the show that are references to things that have happened to Wanda. I love all that stuff.
The opening credits that mirrored, other shows like the Bewitched one, the Brady Bunch, and all those are just fantastic, design.
I know it's never going to happen, but I want a Living Single or Martin episode.
Yes.
Please? It's not going to happen because reasons. But if that ever happens, if that happens in one of these episodes, that is going to be my favorite thing in all of MCU ever.
I take a Fresh Prince.
Yeah, give me your cheesy version of the Fresh Prince.
That's the only difference. People know Fresh Prince.
I know. I was just trying to bridge a gap because I figured maybe that one's more realistic.
That might be the one. Give me Vision on the chair going upside down. I'll take that.
Or doing stuff from The Office, doing single cam interviewing stuff, like for like a documentary.
From the second teaser that happened, it looks like they are moving towards that with the whole Wanda doing it's Case of the Monday, so it looks like they're moving towards that.
Good.
Oh dang! Well, he's gone.
Yep, people just dropping in and out of this.
Yeah, I don't think we could hear him. I know he was trying to talk, and I think he's going to talk.
Yeah,
I do like, by the way, and for the emphasis on the importance of the Rambos. We got to see Marie Rambeau, who we'd only met, obviously, in half a movie. And we know her importance to Captain Marvel within that movie, but how that could then, all her experiences, because we know what, like, Carol Danvers and Nick Fury's experiences from that movie means for the MCU. We got to see how that Marie Rambeau's experiences from that situation extended out and is affecting the MCU now. So I really like the inclusion of that within that storyline.
But I guess we're about to move on to episode 5. Yep. So Robert,
I'm going to gracefully bow out.
Yeah. So do you have anything you need to plug or anything? fun like that?
No, I got a couple matches coming up. I got my singles debut in Warzone coming up this coming week. Filming anyway. I don't know when it'll be airing. And then I have a 3-way number 1 contenders match in a league that JB3 knows something about. Otherwise, I'm still working on trying to get my podcast off the ground, which is a sports podcast. I'll mention that, but I'll talk about that more and more as it starts to get more on solid footing. But otherwise, no, I'm just going to be hanging out, studying and watching stuff, getting ready, enjoying what it is that the media landscape has to offer as we start dipping into the, getting closer and closer to the year anniversary of quarantine, I guess.
Okay, so I have a question. Since you're making a sports podcast, who's going to win either on the big game tonight, since this is debuting on Sunday?
Oh, God. Super Bowl 55, everybody. Kansas City versus Tampa Bay. Tom Brady's trying to cement a legacy that's already been cemented, much to my chagrin, because I hate him so. Patrick Mahomes is trying to get off to a better start than Tom Brady had in his career by winning 2 in the first 4 years, which Tom Brady never did because they didn't make the playoffs in 2002. My heart says it will be Kansas City because I don't think, even despite Kansas City's offensive line issues, I don't think that they can stop that trio, that offensive trio of Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill. I just think it's an impossibility at this point, and I think everybody for the next 10 years are going to have trouble with that. But my head is saying, because this is probably the Cowboys' last rodeo, that stupid Tampa Bay is going to win at home, and Tom Brady's going to get a stupid 7th ring, and everybody's going to, jerk him off from now till kingdom come. So, fuck it. I'm going with my heart. I'm going to say Kansas City.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. You are more than welcome to come on anytime that you want. You'll be on next week to have your match with Ryan.
Yes.
So good luck with that. Good luck both of y'all. And I'll catch you around, Robert.
Thank you. Gentlemen, it was a pleasure doing business with you in terms of talking about things. But I look forward to seeing y'all next week.
Yeah. See you later. Have a good one.
JB3,
All right.
Here you, sir.
So, JB3, what do you think of those first 4 episodes?
Well, I'll keep it kind of smooth and short, kind of like my hair. So when I first started watching the first episode, I immediately started looking for Easter eggs. I'm sure most people did, but like I know like the first 3 episodes, people were especially the first couple, like, oh, this is slow. But I would have to agree with what a lot of you guys say. It's a TV show, and Marvel fans aren't used to that. They're used to watching a movie, post-credit scene, wait a few months and be excited in the movie theater when you go watch the next one. This is a different like situation for them. They got a TV show now, so we're waiting week to week to week to week. And this isn't the new age style where they drop a whole season or a whole miniseries and we get to binge watch it all. We legit have to wait, and it's killing us. Like that, I think the wait period is what really the slow conversation comes about. But I wanted to tap on something real quick on episode 4 that Ryan talked about. I didn't get to hear Mr. Rue. Excuse me, I'm sorry. The Schmoedowns, Mr. Rue. Yeah. I didn't get to hear what he had to say much, but I heard Ryan talk about Kat and talk about Jimmy Woo, Darcy, Jimmy Woo. That was amazing. Not only because the characters got brought in, potentially characters that some people may have forgotten about, but it gave them their interaction with each other and the rest of the characters in episode 4, and when we talk about episode 5, I think it redeems them, because in a lot of ways, no one looked at Darcy like she was a legitimate like astrophysicist or anything like that. She was comedic. Nobody looked at Jimmy Woo like he was a great FBI agent. No, he was just comedic in those movies. But in this episode 4 and more, when we go to the next one, they gave them like validation by allowing them to be smart, to know things. Like Jimmy Woo knows about so many things, and so does Darcy, that we never thought that they would actually even know about. Like they know about small details. I mean, if you guys watched, I didn't catch it at first, but like if you watched like Eric Voss or anything, you guys caught that they said the word scrolls in there. Like he even knows about scrolls. Like this dude is not just a comedic character. He's an actual legit agent, and he means something to the show. And they brought Darcy in immediately, like throwing knowledge, and they kept her personality.
Yep.
So not only is she the smartest one, or one of the smartest ones in the room, but she's also still the funniest one in the room. So it's a magical like connection and a mesh for me as a fan, as a watcher. And that's pretty much how I felt about that. I was more impressed. I know you guys talked about like all the things that happened in the episode, and that was all cool. I'm loving the show, but like I wanted to focus on those two and like how they're legitimate now as Marvel MCU characters, instead of like, oh, they're funny, which they are, but now they're also important.
All right, so Amaru, I know you gotta leave, so let me hear what you think of episode 5 of this show before we.
Outside of the amazingness that 2 years of waiting for this Fox buyout to finally pay off, like really pay off. The biggest part of this episode where I was like, oh my gosh, they did that. That Lagos commercial where you have to clean up stuff. That is, they went dark. They went there. And I was like, oh no, you didn't just do that. That is more than a cleanup. Oh no, that is basically really going into the heart of, and what makes me think a lot of people underestimate Elizabeth Olsen as an actress, how much grief that Wanda is actually going through. I have been scared this entire, especially these last 2 episodes. She has legit scared me. Like, I don't get scared watching these films. I am like, oh my gosh, she is playing this perfectly. She is scary as hell. And having her commercials be that dark, like that type of attention to, oh, we're going there because that's how far down this hole of grief she's gone. That was beautiful. I yelled and ran. Like, if y'all see my review and you watch it, I yelled and ran up and down this when we saw Evan Peters' face. Because I was like, are we getting Aaron or are we getting Evan? Are we getting Aaron or are we getting Evan? And I was so happy. I yelled to the top. Man, the amounts of screaming that happened, just how many? When are we getting Fassbender? Who are we getting and when? I am just so excited. I am absolutely excited. And I will say this. This was the best episode before that reveal. Like, I felt the tension between Vision and Wanda. Like, that was what was compelling to me. Like, and the conundrum having with her kids about the dead dog and not bringing it back, but the fact that she brought Vision back and you could visibly see, shit, what am I supposed? It was a combination of that and a combination of just really badass women with Wanda like, hey, is this yours? And then Monica saying, yo, Thanos was a punk and was going to die if he didn't do the blitz. And then they bring up Carol and Maria is Maria's like, we're not talking about her right now. And now I want to know what has happened between the movie and real life. That is a whole nother avenue they can now explore about what has actually happened in between there.
And it was one tiny thing.
It was so small. All the little things, that movie was trash, by the way, the little things, but all the little things that happen in between shows you why this week to week is great. Because they can drop episodes like this on you and say, look, be here. We know what we're doing. And they're like it's building to something and will continue to build to something. And every single episodes are like, well, there goes 3 more shows. There goes 2 more movies. And it all is connected. And every single episode is there for a reason. Every single movie is there for a reason. Again, even before Quicksilver stepped into that doorbell rang and we were like, ooh, is it? It was still just such an amazing episode. I loved, and I think outside of that commercial, my favorite part was when Vision and Wanda were fighting, and Wanda wanted to move on, so she started running the credits, and Vision was like, "No, credits are going across my face. We not stopping right now. We having this." I love every second.
Great.
So
that was great tones there. Like you have the comedic of the credits is going up there, but then the seriousness that Paul Bettany gives you. That's why this episode and also episode 4, it's a great little slow burn from episode 3 of Vision wanting his issue, like really getting worried about the neighbors. Because in the first 2, he was more focused on fitting in. Then when he got comfortable, then he starts inquiring about the neighbors. With his neighbor, I think Ralph, or was it Ron, continually cutting through that brick wall. And then between that and Agnes, and then you see in episode 4, when he's also focused about the baby, it wasn't until finally when that's taken care of, his interaction with the doctor is like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Go on your baby. Oh, what's going to happen? It's hard to leave." And then his face, then at the end clip with him and Wanda, he's like, "We can just go." All of that was great subtle builds to that moment when he's installing computers. Everyone is reading out that report from Darcy, and then going into that coworker's mind. Everything's like the dam is falling apart, and that's why I love that conversation. And then when he says, "I don't know what my life is like outside of Westview," this shows this is not the same Vision that we know pre-Infinity War. This is a different Vision. That's why I like the idea everyone's going like, "Oh, he's resurrected, he's back." Not likely. It's kind of like with Groot. Groot died in the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Now we got a whole new Groot moving forward. That's why I like the idea. Characters may be resurrected, but they're not the same. So they're showing you death has consequences.
All right. So, Amaro, I know you have to leave. So I'm going to ask you. Elizabeth Olsen has came out and said that there's going to be a big like Luke Skywalker moment.
That happened already? That
yeah.
didn't
So
happen
I'm
already?
going to ask you, is Quicksilver being in the episode the big moment, or are we getting something bigger? And if we're getting something bigger, who is it going to be, in your opinion?
I don't know. I'm usually not one. I don't really cast theories or try to like look into what's happening later that often. I'm more of a kind of ride the wave and be happy when it happens. If I have to think of one, if you're going to do it and Fassbender comes in as Magneto, that would be brilliant. I don't think they're doing that yet. If they do anything, it's probably going to be either somebody from Strange because of that connection, or because they drop hints years before movies come out. When Monica said she knows somebody who can build the robotics or whatever, that it could be somebody from Fantastic Four canon. That could be Reed, that could be Doom, which, I would love it. I know they're doing Fantastic Four first, but I would love it if they did a Doom movie first and then flipped him to turn him evil. I would love if that happened. But
that makes sense.
If that happened, it would be, I think it's going to go one of those two. Before I go, I do want to say, JB3, that was brilliant what you dropped. Like the Darcy and Woo stuff, man. I wish I could continue to be here to listen to you talk about it, because that 5 minutes was brilliant. I loved it. That was extreme. That's everything I wanted to say. Because when I speak, I just ramble, just very concisely put into something great. So that was amazing, brother.
All right. So, Amaro, do you have anything you want to plug or anything? I know you got.
Yeah. So wow, I have not seen my picture this nice, because I got a new camera, so that was very surprising. But anyway, Harloff already announced it. My first Schmoedown match will be airing on March 3rd against Mr. Jesse Swift. So look out for that in about a month. Other than that, One Gotta Say comes on tomorrow. We got Ghostbusters, Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, or Back to the Future. You only get to keep one franchise. And if anybody wants to put any last minute list together, send me what you got for that. Other than that, keep playing classic, keep going on feature presentation, keep watching the SuperNova show. Support everybody in the leagues. And then Bite Size Breakdown on IG. There's so many things I always forget. Bite Size Breakdown on IG, Uncovered Music Podcast. Anything that I retweet, follow and listen to.
All righty. Well, thank you for being on. I always enjoy having you on. You are welcome anytime.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Thanks
all
for having
right.
me.
Have a
Peace.
great night.
All right. So we're gonna finish talking about this. So I'm gonna ask you guys the same question. Elizabeth Olsen has came out and said that there's going to be a Luke Skywalker level cameo in this show. Was it Quicksilver, the Fox Quicksilver, or do you think it's someone else? If you think it's someone else, who do you think it's going to be?
Well,
That is
firstly,
a difficult one.
I just want to say this first. I was excited to see Quicksilver, but it did like my mind when I was watching the episode, I was slightly disappointed. And the reason I say that is because my mind was not at X-Men characters at the time, because the way they were talking about Pietro, I wanted the real Pietro. Like that's what I felt in my heart while I was watching it. I like tapped. I did the whole tap my son. I was like, hey, it's happening. Like I legit thought it was, because I thought originally that he just had too quick of a run. I understood why they did what they did, character development for Wanda, this and that, but like I always felt like he should return. Everyone talks about it over the past few years, but I was slightly like, I wasn't mad or disappointed that it was him. I was more kind of disappointed that it wasn't the original Pietro, because I thought it was going to be him, and I was about to flip. Like I was like, that's everything. Now he gets to see Clint again. He gets everything. Like, but it's okay. As far as a big reveal later, this could be that, or I could compare it to Tony Khan. Tony Khan said the balance of wrestling is shifting. That same night Pac returned, everybody was like, pfft. But some people were like, well, it is Pac. I mean, but then later on we see what happened with Omega. So it was a bigger tease. There's a good chance that this could be a bigger tease. I think that it's possible that we could get someone, maybe Ian, that'd be crazy. But they already went the X-Men route, so I could totally see them pulling off, going to the Fantastic Four, like Rue said. So if it were to be my guess, I have a couple guesses. I think either Ian or some other form of Magneto. I think Doctor Strange could be one. Like he could finally come in and it's like, I'm going to handle the situation finally. And then another one is one that's been teased. I don't know why it would happen, but either one of the Avengers.
Yeah. I'm of the same opinion as well. I liked seeing Evan Peters' Quicksilver pop up. When that moment happened, I had the mildest of reactions, because after what happened between Wanda and Vision, I was not even thinking about it. So when he popped up, I'm just, oh. And at the same time, when she said those comments, a Luke Skywalker-esque cameo, the difference is that with Luke Skywalker, you had something building up to it. And not just and it wasn't just the first season of Mandalorian, just the whole idea of Grogu, the child, learn more about it. You learn his name, then you meet Ahsoka, then you have that episode where he's on the Seeing Stone. Like, there were slow build-ups to it. And I'm not saying there was not build-ups as well with PHO coming back, because we saw first episode, second episode, third episode, you're slowly seeing that she can warp reality. And then you see her in episode 5 that not only what's happening in there, like Wanda may not have started what's going on, but she is learning to gain some control in that place, which is why when Monica says her clothing, the clothing that she has is Kevlar underneath it, you're seeing, and when she explains to her douchey boss, yeah, Wanda may have kicked her out of there, but at the same time, she was also protecting her with her aura. Because when you rewatch her getting kicked out of that sphere, what leaves is a red aura around her. So she was shielded by Wanda. So you do see Wanda is more on the line of, she's starting to get some control. She still has the telekinetic and telepathy powers, but when you saw in episode 3, she's starting to change things. And what you saw here in episode 5, she wanted to get her children to sleep. So she thought, oh, change reality so they sleep. Nope, it didn't happen. So I do see that the only way that would have made this work, the Luke Skywalker's cameo, is that if it plays into the story of Wanda's reality shaping, her newfound ability to reshape reality. let's say Quicksilver comes in, and then you build, and then you start laying down breadcrumbs. Hopefully, in episode 6 and 7 and 8, with hopefully if Evan Peters is now on, not just there for the next episode. You start seeing him on more. He starts talking about their father, or he makes references to a life that Wanda's not familiar with. Then that can feel like you're building to see maybe Magneto pop up in there, either Fassbender or McKellen. That, to me, that would work for me as a Luke Skywalker as cameo. You tie it back, you tie it into the story of this world. Whatever is happening here is trying to make Wanda complicit in wanting to stay here. It's one of the reasons why she keeps saying the Vision, I have everything under control. This is our home. We don't have to leave. Like, Wanda is trying to buy into the idea of Westview, while Vision, he's becoming resistant to it. So what would make Wanda double down even more? You not only bring back her brother, you slowly start bringing back in her family. So then you can bring in Michael Fassbender and then cast an actress to play the mother. And that's what would work as a Luke Skywalker cameo.
Yeah.
Like, I would lose my shit if I see Fassbender or McKellen. I would lose my shit if I see either two of them.
Hey, I got something I want to say real quick. I just thought about this, and believe it or not, it's very possible that no one in any of the channels have even thought about this. It just hit me. We found out in episode 5, guys, that she broke into that facility and she took Vision's corpse. Well, according to that guy, because that dude,
the director, yeah,
he still seems weirdish. He seems off, but that's a whole nother thing. Now, do you think it's now Vision inside of this episode is waking people up? He's using his powers, essentially, right? Now, if he is a reanimated corpse it's being resurrected by Wanda, the Mind Stone is not there. He is still using powers without the Mind Stone. And it brings me back to a conversation in Infinity War that Shuri had with Bruce Banner and all of them. They were talking about how they should have did them all collectively or something. And they were like, well, we didn't think of that. And she was like, well, I'm sure you tried your best. But one thing that she mentioned in that whole scenario was that it was possible, or they all mentioned that it was possible for Vision to still be Vision without the Mind Stone.
They did.
And when Shuri was doing it, we were never really confirmed whether or not she finished, because she was doing it real fast and then she scooped it out of there. And then that's all we seen. What if they still had that? What if that eventually got completed? Because think about it. I know that it was in Wakanda, but there's agents that were in Wakanda that are no longer in Wakanda. Like, Wakanda pretty much at that point is no longer a hidden thing. So, you know, there's a very good chance that whatever Shuri started with Vision got finished. And that's one of the ways that Vision still has his powers. And that's one of the reasons maybe why Vision is being able to, like, wake up essentially and figure things out and be like, oh no, where am I? What am I doing? And then using his powers, because they're his powers. And it goes back to that conversation that they had in Infinity War.
Yeah, I do kind of like that, because, and to constantly keep referencing back to see episode 4, Darcy did say whatever energy is inside is the same energy that started the Big Bang. Possibly Wanda retrieving the Vision, whatever magic was used, some of that stuff got absorbed into Vision itself, that became possibly a more sentient source of energy, more sentient source of power compared to the Mind Stone. Because even in Infinity War, they did say Infinity War and Guardians, they said the stones were results of energies left over from the Big Bang. So yeah, that could possibly be one of the reasons why Vision is alive in that world. Now, I know people saw like that second little trailer before episode 5, where you see that little tease of Vision at the end of the spear. That could be a test. I don't want to predict, but I want to theorize that possibly Vision, because I've never seen Vision do that, really phase into people's brains like what he did with that coworker of his. So it could be to more Vision's gonna understand there's more to him than he realized with the Mind Stone. So possibly him wanting to go outside the spear could be a way to test his power to see, just like what Wanda did, how she was able to get outside the sphere, if he can do the same thing. And can he sustain himself outside of the sphere? If that is possible, then once again, I'm saying, like I said before, this is a brand new vision. This is not the same vision that we had from Civil War, from Captain America Civil War and Avengers Age of Ultron and Infinity War. This is a brand new person, and you see he is more human than he was Android before. Because you saw in episode 5, he was breaking down. He was scared. He was confused because he has no memory of who he was before Westfield. He is terrified because he's a father now, and he's got sons to look after. And the fact that these sons can grow at will is kind of freaking him out.
They were like, no, don't do it.
And they did it. Despite how comedic that was, that is terrifying. The fact that these children, they grew from babies to 5 or 6 year olds, and then the moment he says you can't have that responsibility till you're 10, and the kids look at each other smiling, it's like, that is legit terrifying. It's one of the reasons why I can see why Vision is scared. Even when he says, why are there no other children here? It's just their sons. Everything about Vision is showing that he's no longer suspicious of this reality. He is legit questioning it, to the point where we saw in episode 3 where Wanda quickly blipped out that questioning of Vision when he said something's not right here. She can't do that anymore because Vision, he's fully aware. Now it's whatever's going to happen in episode 6 is going to determine how Wanda, or this little reality that's happening, is going to try to qualm those decisions of Vision. And man, it's just like, yeah, I can't wait for episode 6. I wish we were on next Friday right now.
I think that's the best part about it, is for them at least, is that where we want to watch so bad. But man, do you think, Ryan and Colton, do you think that Vision is, you were talking about him being scared and talking about him because he doesn't know what's outside of Westview. I'm just curious what's going to happen with, like, when he, like you said, when he goes outside of it, will he be able, what? It's so weird, because the only other connecting thing about what you said is that they both got their powers from the Mind Stone. So that's one connectivity between Vision and Wanda right there. But you're right. It's anticipation. Colton, it's anticipation.
All right. So in my opinion, which I guess we'll see, I think if he leaves, he will start to get weaker. And eventually he will die outside the sphere. He will start, because I think it is her giving him the power, because she has the reality warping abilities, and she got her powers from the Mind Stone. So she is giving him back the ability to live. So when he leaves, the power will eventually drain from him, and he will become the corpse again. And at least that's my opinion. I think some stuff's about to go down. Like, from this episode, it's the first inclination that she's a villain. She is the villain of the show. Like, the way she came out of the sphere and was like, you're gonna stop messing around, and turned all the guns on the director, and like, yeah, you're gonna stop messing with me and my kids and my husband and all of that. And then she just left. And to kind of answer my own question before, I think, like, the Quicksilver reveal, like, JB3, I had heard that Peters was going to be in the show, but I thought, oh, okay, I saw the back of Quicksilver's head, and I could have swore that was Aaron Taylor Johnson.
The way they had the hairstyle, though, because that was his hairstyle, with a little bit of gray on the top, and I mean, like, silver gray, and then you get like the darker shade going towards the back.
Yeah, and then it flips, and it's Evan Peters, and I'm like, holy crap! So I think, yeah, we are gonna get, before the end of the show, I think we are either gonna get Tony back, like, because she has a big connection with Stark. I mean, it's his weapons that killed her parents. And no offense to Robert Downey Jr., no movie he's made outside of the MCU has been any good, and this could be his reintroduction to the franchise after his death. Or I think it will be Michael Fassbender with gray hair, so it will look like he's older. Because no offense to the Fox movies, the last Dark Phoenix is supposed to be in the 90s, and he still looks like he did in the 60s.
Like even Evan Peters should have been old. Evan Peters should have even been Evan Peters, Nicholas Hoult, and McAvoy, along with Jennifer Lawrence, should have been older in the 90s. Honestly,
Imagine. Hey, and X-Men came out in 2000? So in a matter of 10 years, he went from that to Ian McKellen. What happened? Some shit went down. We need to know what happened in the 90s, man.
I also want to add on. I think I kind of would more proceed. I would more prefer to see either Clint or Chris Evans or Captain America show up, because she had the more emotional connection. And if this was this little in-universe trying to manipulate Wanda, that would be the better way to keep her manipulated, by bringing in two individuals who she's more emotionally connected to than Tony Stark. But I do like the idea. What if Tony shows up? That could go either way.
Well, I think I have a theory real quick. I'm sorry. I have a theory. I think I have a theory here. Mm-hmm. So Darcy said the words. She said the words. She asked the question, did Wanda recast Pietro? But she didn't recognize him, obviously, because that's not her brother, right? So I'm curious, did someone else do it? Did someone else put him there? Because like because there's something weird about it. They said it's Wanda, right? But they kind of revealed that a little too early. Like maybe it isn't all Wanda. Maybe somebody else. The only other person that was around while they were talking about Pietro at that time, I believe, was what's her face, Agnes. Now, if she still is a part of that, maybe she's the bad person working. Whoever Ralph is, her husband. We haven't seen him yet. Still, I wonder if they put Pietro in there because they needed something to distract them, or just Vision. Or give Vision a reason to kind of chill out. Because if you realize it, like, he wasn't listening to Wanda. Like you said, Varian, the post-credit scene's going, he went to the other room. He was like, no. No, I want to know what's going on here. And then it happened. So Vision calmed down after that. So I'm thinking, she looked confused and surprised. And you would think if she were to bring her brother back, wouldn't she bring him back to look like her actual brother? Why did it look like somebody else? And then obviously, you could look at the behind the scenes questions. Did the actor, whatever the actor's name who played him in Age of Ultron, was he available? Did he not want to be in? Or did they really want to go the whole X-Men route and bring in that? Who knows? It's such a crazy, weird thing. But she might not be in control of that. Someone might have dropped him in there.
So I have a theory, and I've been thinking about this. Like, me and my best friend have been talking about it for the last few weeks. So I think, because they've said that this show, the next Spider-Man movie, and the next Doctor Strange movie are all one arc.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah, so I think that this is Wanda. She really wants her family back, right? Mm-hmm. She wants some kind of connection. She lost Vision, and she's not powerful enough to bring him back. So what do you do whenever you got to bring a dead person back? You make a deal with the devil. You make a deal with Mephisto.
Call the Winchester.
So, yeah, you make a deal with the devil. You make a deal with Mephisto. So, he is a major Doctor Strange villain in the comics. And if he's making this deal with her to make her more powerful so she can have a family and bring back Vision and have kids with him, and then maybe bring back her brother, he's doing this, but it's in a way that she's not expecting. Like, he brought back Vision, but she can still see that he's dead every once in a while. He gave her kids, but the kids are growing up exponentially and will die of old age before she gets out of the simulation or out of the shield or the dome.
Yeah.
He brought back her brother, but it's not the one from this universe. So that's my opinion, is that it's a Mephisto thing. I hope that that's accurate but I also could totally see that she is just opening up the multiverse, which is the reason why I think with the rumors that the next Spider-Man movie is going to have the other two Spider-Men in it, I think we could totally see Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield like through a portal or something. And then when the Sword Agents finally decide to nuke the bubble or attack it, it bursts open, and that will burst open the multiverse. And all the little multiverses that are in Westville are going to open up, and it will open up to the full Marvel universe.
I do kind of like that notion. Personally, for me, I've heard the concept Mephisto, like people saying that. Personally, I kind of want that because as much as I love the idea of bringing Mephisto in, I think with Wanda, even though it definitely ties into Wanda's comics like story with the House of M and also her having dealings with Mephisto herself, to me, if this is going to slightly be partial tie-in to Doctor Strange, I would kind of prefer to have it much more be like Agatha is the main villain here, but she is an agent of either Mephisto or Dormammu. That way, we still have that connecting thread. We have that loose connecting thread, though, but even then, we're still speculating on what could and what will happen. But all in all, I still appreciate what the show is giving us. The sitcom layout is there because, as Omaro said, Wanda is someone who is heavily going through grief right now. She has suffered so much tragedy, more than Tony Stark, more than Captain America. I mean, the only person so far I've seen the only people so far in the MCU of characters that, at least out of our main Avengers, who can share that much trauma with her is Black Widow and Thor. Those two alone. And depending on what the Black Widow movie is going to be about, what her past was as a Russian spy of the people she's killed, and of course we've already seen with Thor on him being a god, being over a millennium, being thousands of years old, over 5,000 years old. I forgot how old he is, but even then he's had so much of war, death, so much behind him that the fact of Wanda, you see with her how she's having to deal with that. She's despite what despite what the show is giving us, right now we're only given an outside look at Wanda. We've seen that she's been aggressive towards anything that tries to change her world or threaten it. But we mainly see she only does these changes when it's affecting her around with Vision and her children, especially with that scene with the drone. Because anything else outside of it, she kind of just leaves it alone. It's not only until it's directed at Vision where she decides to like make changes, like that scene with the husband choking, or in season 2, episode 2. I keep saying seasons, or like in episode 2 with the beekeeper. When the beekeeper shows up, she's trying to prevent Vision from that too. And then with Monica dropping Ultron, and then now with episode 5 with the drone, the director shot a missile at her, and her children were right next to her. So damn straight, she's gonna get snippy at the director. Could have killed her kids, and he was willing to take that shot. So
yeah, they snapped at the director too. Yeah, they snapped at him, bro. You're right.
Yeah, Wanda is being very reactive towards any threat towards her and her bubble, but anything else outside of it, she is completely ignoring it.
Yeah, I'm ready to see how it goes. I think there's 4 more episodes.
Yeah, it's 9 episodes. So yeah, we are. It feels like we've hit the crescendo. And now we're going to get. Now it's just going to start. Now I don't mean like dipping quality, but kind of like in a dramatic, like when it comes to writing action, you got your rising, then your crescendo. Now we're going to get our falling action, and then to our denouement.
Yeah, and since this is only a 1-season show, this will be the entire arc. So we'll see what happens in 4 episodes in 4 more weeks.
Man, what a great way! What a great way to do movies without doing movies. You know what I'm saying? Like they're able to do so much now. It's just incredible. Like in a movie, we'd get 3 hours of content. With this miniseries, we're getting like almost 5 hours of content. Like
All right.
this helps them to not be limited to a movie time standard that they have to abide by. You know, like Avengers Endgame can't be over 3 hours and 10 minutes long because the company doesn't want them. Now they can just do this and they can put that 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours worth of content all out there for us to see. And now look at us, we're freaking out. It's amazing. Like, I'm curious if we're going to get a post-season scene.
Yeah. So, do you guys want to wrap this up, or you want to talk about the Royal Rumble and Beach Break?
That's what.
Well, I mean, depending on how much time you got left, I can definitely talk about Royal Rumble and Beach Break.
I say we got about 15 minutes before my wife decides to kill me.
Oh, not enough time. That's not enough time to talk about both.
We could talk about the Rumble at least, real quick.
The Rumble, most likely, yeah. Even though Beach Break is great, there's so much that happened in Beach Break that it would take more than 15 minutes to talk about. But the Rumble, we can definitely knock that out.
But yeah, I know me and JB3 have talked about the Rumble a whole lot because last week we did the draft and it went pretty well for everybody, which that's the reason why I like the Rumble. I like Beach Break as well. The ending of both were wonderful. I'm not watching SmackDown I haven't watched SmackDown yet. Of course, this is going to come out on Sunday, so I probably will have seen SmackDown. I'm sure it'll be great because SmackDown is always good. For some reason, Raw is not sometimes. And I don't understand that because it's the same people making the freaking show. And
I think there's different producing parties, personally, in my mind, between Raw and SmackDown.
And then the ads doesn't help any at all. Like Fox is better about their ads and their timing. USA is ridiculous. They got over an hour worth of ads. Like, why have a third hour of Raw? But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. From what I've read, doesn't Bruce Pritchard produce both the shows?
I think he has more controlling interest in Raw though, but SmackDown it's more of like a better technical show, honestly.
Yeah. I know that Daniel Bryan and Edge are responsible for a lot of the story writing on SmackDown right now. At least that's what I read in the dirt sheets, or the YouTube videos that I watch in the mornings when I drink my coffee or my pop. Because I'm from Michigan, my soda.
You good? I call it pop. So
nice.
Yeah, a lot of my family is from the West, so out west. So I've called it pop. I've called it soda. I've just called everything Coke, no matter if it's Coke or not.
What about you, Ryan? What do you call it?
I've heard both as well. Most of the time it's been soda. Other times I've heard pop, depending on certain regions I go to in California.
Yeah, I'll be like, grab me a Coke.
Like everything.
Okay. But yeah, it's been a very interesting week for wrestling. And I can't wait to see where it goes because AEW and Impact and now New Japan are all this triple threat triangle thing that now is going to make WWE raise their product up, which I still think SmackDown's good, NXT is good, Raw needs to raise its game up. And so I think I asked on the show last week, but Ryan, since you weren't here, what do you think about this entire WWE making the deal with NBC about putting the network on Peacock and getting $1 billion or whatever?
Well, I said this on my wrestling podcast I co-host with James Shimo that I think it's fucking funny, but also kind of ridiculous. Only on two fronts. One, this is mainly just for Vince to once again get more push his product out there in the mainstream again. Really trying to, I understand, getting that broader audience to bring more eyes to his practice of WWE. The problem is that with the network that he already had himself like a good slice like there. It looked like he was finally starting to get something going with the network. Not counting all the library of wrestling companies and wrestling matches on there, it looked like they were starting to do something with their original content. Because before I had canceled my network out of frustration, I was enjoying the Table for Three, the WWE 24, the documentaries, even the Undertaker: The Last Ride, and when they aired the Stone Cold podcast on there, I liked how they were able to integrate content and programs about that's wrestling related into the network. But now with it being part of the Peacock app, I'm starting to think it's gonna fade a little bit there, because when people get the Peacock app, they're not everyone's eyes are going to be towards the WWE. They're going to look at the shows that's on there, the television or whatever movies that's on there, the content that NBC is willing to get, and maybe some sports. But to me, it's kind of like Vince should have not tried to sell it, because I don't know exactly what kind of content he has control of what's going to be on the app now, especially when he's going to start marketing this. When he's going to start marketing it on Raw and SmackDown. It's like, oh, check us out on the Peacock app. Okay, what can they check out? Oh, you just got to go log on and find out. No thanks.
Yeah. Now I do understand why he did it, because Peacock has 25 million subscribers, and the WWE Network has 2 million. So you get an extra 23 million people to see your product. And from what I've read, is WWE will still make everything that they're making right now. It'll just be available on Peacock. So let's say, for an example, you're someone like my dad who hasn't watched wrestling in 20 years. If he's on the Peacock app because he wants to watch the Harry Potter movies, and that's the only streaming site that you can have on there, and then he sees, oh, the Undertaker documentary, he may be like, oh, I watched the Undertaker, and he did that because specifically, I'm using this example because last time he was up at my house, I was watching something, and he saw that I had just been watching the Last Ride documentary, and he was like, hey, let's watch all that. So I had to start it back at the beginning and watch it. Guess what? He's asked me for my WWE Network thing so he could watch old WCW and WWF pay-per-views now. Because he's like, this was back when wrestling was good. And I'm like, well, you're not wrong. But so there's going to be other people that are like that watched during the Attitude Era who stopped watching, who will be on the Peacock app to watch all the shows that NBC and stuff have on there. Like, it's going to happen. People are going to, like, they may not then tune in to the weekly shows, but they will watch the stuff that they enjoy, which I'm sure NBC will then turn back and give WWE money on the back end. I'm sure there was probably some deal there.
Obviously, it's pretty much a business money deal. You know, that's about it.
Yeah,
right.
So
it was brilliant, to be honest. Because I mean, Ryan, I understand what you said about the network, but you got to remember, like right now, they're not getting rid of the network. It's just for US, so they get to keep their network. Which, to be honest, their US part of it was probably the worst part of it at all. Dealing with the US subscribers and was probably way different. I mean, I just heard 20 million people from India watch that Superstar Spectacle thing. Like, they're going to have the network for all the other countries, so they're still going to run the network, but it's just for the US guys that they went to Peacock. And then Vince isn't going to get any heat now when they start charging to watch WrestleMania in SummerSlam in the Royal Rumble. When we got to pay $20 and then $30 and then $40, we're eventually going to have to pay it. Yeah, we get to cut it in half now, $4.99 a month with ads. WWE was already airing ads during pay-per-views anyway. Last year, I watched, I think, a Snickers ad during WrestleMania. So I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Business-wise, it's brilliant, but I know in the business sense that it's brilliant, but to me, it's like if Vince does not have that much issue with his with the US, like if that was only for US problems, then Vince really he's looking for a shortcut out. That's personally for me. I want to see the silver lining out of this, but like I said, last year was nothing but was frustrating to watch WWE. I'm only watching it now just so I can stay up to date with my wrestling podcast. Other than that, the only thing of WWE I watch is NXT and a couple of whenever I get a chance to watch SmackDown.
Oh, I remember, brother. I've suffered there right along with you for the past year. We talked.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
But let's talk about the Royal Rumble though. Something that actually was good from WWE at the start of the year.
Yeah. So how do you feel about the Rumble? Like, honestly, I loved both the Rumble matches. Everything in the Roman and Kevin Owens match I thought was good, except for the ending.
Oh
like,
my
obviously,
God,
like the botched finish. Hey, that happens in wrestling. I understand. But
happened to The Rock.
yeah, like
yeah, it did.
things happen. So
I understand things do happen. I think the problem was how they chose to correct, how the execution of it. I understand they wanted to build up the tension to see if Roman would get on his feet at 10. But at the same time, Roman just showed, like, the moment the ref had to stop the count, you saw Roman wasn't completely, he wasn't completely useless. He was still able to at least crouch when he got up on his feet. That could have been a smart way for him to recover. Well, but then I get it. He's still trying to do the whole thing of selling that. I guess the problem was just, what was the point of the second referee? You could have just waited until Paul got the handcuffs off and then recontinued. But I understand the story they wanted to tell. It was just more of like the moment that second ref came on there, it was either, and I can get it. It was a very, it was a botch and unfortunate timing. I can go past and overlook that. It's just when you see that on first viewing, it's just kind of, wait, no, Kevin Owens should have won that match then if the handcuffs couldn't get off of Roman. Like, that to me, and they could have easily fixed that up too. Like, let's say in this what if scenario, the ref didn't stop. 10, Kevin Owens wins, and then of course you see a pissed off Roman. You can already go to the next week of SmackDown to where Roman wants to fight Kevin Owens for that championship again, or build as a rematch between Roman and Kevin Owens at another pay-per-view. You would have gotten yourself not just a shocking ending, but then people invested to watch the SmackDown afterwards. I get Vince has his storyline and he wants to keep building with Roman there, but even then, if you're able to recognize a mistake and try to maybe not course correct it, but try to see what you can do to adjust in your storylining, that would make the content. I think it would make people you can play so much on the reality of wrestling, but still at the same time playing off the kayfabe. Though I mean, I could say too much on this, but I want to keep talking about the pay-per-view as a whole.
All right, so I have a question. So to move on from this subject, the Royal Rumble winners, Bianca Belair and Edge. If you were booking the program, who are they challenging for the championship?
Oh, can I go? Okay, first off, Bianca Belair's foot was on the apron. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm just going to throw that little side note there. Her foot was on the apron. There was only one foot touching. That's my opinion. I'm never going to leave that story. Bianca Belair, 2021 Women's Royal Rumble winner, completely 1,000% legit. For her, that's a good one because it could be Sasha, could be Asuka, could be it's not going to be Io. I'd say Sasha just because she's already on SmackDown and they could play off the they could just play off of the respect that, and she already did stuff with Bayley, so Bayley could probably, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if Bayley snuck in there and it made it a triple threat. I don't want that to happen. I wouldn't be too disappointed because it'd be a good match, and I'd still want Bianca to pin Sasha. But like Bayley can have a play in that. And as far as Edge goes, I mean, there's so many avenues to go with him. I know they're teasing a lot right now, but from the way that it's going to go, my opinion, it has to be Roman. Not only because he's the heel, and Edge is a face, but the Roman Reigns was the person who eliminated Edge from the 2020 Royal Rumble. So Roman Reigns was the one who was the first person to knock his dream away in the beginning when he returned. I can see Edge saying, I had the same agenda when I came in when I returned in the Royal Rumble. I wanted my title back. Roman Reigns is the one who stopped that from happening. So I'm gonna take his title, and he's never had the Universal title. I know what people's hopes is that he'll bring back the big gold belt after he wins. That'd be cool. But yeah, it's pretty cliche. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Belair taking on Banks, even though they're both SmackDown matches. But golly, yeah. Oh gosh, unless Charlotte wins the title. Oh, no. Unless Charlotte wins the Raw title real quick and then she picks Charlotte. I shouldn't even have said that. I'm gonna vibe it into Vince's mind or something, and he's gonna make it happen. I shouldn't even have said anything.
I was gonna say you should want that to happen because then you'll get points for it in our little draft.
I mean, yeah, I know, but the inner wrestling fan is still I was betting against my own desires when I picked her. I was trusting Vince's routine booking over my passions and wants as a wrestling fan. But yeah, so it is a double-edged sword. What about you, Ryan?
No, my thoughts are the same with the women's. Bianca, obviously the winner, because to be honest, she was the more solid choice. I'm just glad that we just didn't get Charlotte. I was not a fan of Charlotte winning the Rumble last year. I really thought that was a missed opportunity to really highlight someone from the women's division. And and then let's see. Yeah, Bianca winning, her moving forward. I would say that her and Sasha makes the better choice. You can play off the fact that Sasha is getting very more confident being SmackDown Women's Champion. So Bianca can be brought in as the legit challenge to Sasha's reign. She and Bayley did great work together in 2020. Carmella, she's improving, but she's not there yet. Bianca, she's very athletic, so I think we can get one hell of an athletic show out of both of them. Sasha is already great in the ring to where she can elevate. She can pick certain things about Bianca to highlight it, from what you would see in a WrestleMania. That what can be even elevated in a WrestleMania match. And of course, look, Edge winning, I'm good. I'm fine with it. I really had no pick coming out of there. Personally, when I did this, when I was doing my own predictions, I kind of want Morrison to win so that you can do this little nice storyline to where he and The Miz are constantly they're doing these teases on is Miz going to catch a championship on Morrison if Morrison becomes champion, or is Morrison going to use his Royal Rumble opportunity if Miz cashes in? And then you can do this back and forth between where they're trying to self-sabotage each other into you catch it on SmackDown, or you pick the SmackDown champion to go after, or one of you goes after NXT. This constant inner turmoil that you can make into comedy. That's why I thought with Morrison winning would be there's so many ideas you can make out of the both of them that could also pay off Morrison coming back from 2020 being made as a side showman to The Miz, who's been taken front and center. But with Edge winning, yeah.
I'm going to the main event of WrestleMania. No, I'm going to the main event of WrestleMania. No,
exactly.
Yeah,
you can do something like that. It would be perfect. But with Edge win, I still like that because from what we just saw on Raw, it seems that he and Randy's story is done. Edge got his closure. And this past Wednesday, he was on NXT, even teasing the idea he might challenge for the NXT championship. So Edge has said off screen, he's not that kind of guy. If he's a part-timer, he's not going to show up once and then every month or so. He wants to put the work in. He wants to at least try to have a sort of full-time schedule. So I can see Edge challenging almost anyone. I would love to see him versus Drew McIntyre, him versus Finn Balor, him versus Roman. But I do like JB3's idea of that. Yeah, Roman eliminated from 2020. So him challenging Roman could be a good way of, I was in your shoes before thinking I'm on top of the world, but I'm going to give you a quick dose of reality by taking that championship from you.
Yeah, and then they could do the Battle of the Spear and everything.
Yeah.
And then I think if Edge challenges for the Raw champion or the SmackDown champion, I think the next night Miz cashes in on him and wins the belt. Which is the reason why my prediction for Edge is I want him to fight Finn Balor at WrestleMania. Because I think that will be a good match, and it will elevate the NXT championship, just like him showing up and saying, I want that, or I've never had that, already elevated it to world title status, at least to me. And if he goes ahead and challenges for it and wins it, and then continues to, because then he'd only have to defend it at takeovers, which he could do and not have to put himself in danger. He could still show up at every NXT show and have like normal interactions, but he wouldn't have to go all out unless he's on takeovers. So I would rather him do that because I don't want him to get injured because he's my second favorite wrestler of all time. And then number two, I don't want him to be one of those people that goes away and only wrestles once every 2 weeks or a month or so. So if he becomes WWE champion or Universal champion, that is what I think is going to happen, is he won't be around as much as I would want him to be. But if he's...
As long as he doesn't have matches with Kyle O'Reilly and Finn Balor, because their last title matches were like, let's break each other's jaw.
But like, yeah, like I think him versus Finn will be a great match at Mania. If he wins the title, he'll elevate that championship. And I think him fighting for the other two, if he beats Drew, I don't think that does anything for anyone. It doesn't do anything for Drew. It doesn't do anything for Edge. And I don't think he'll beat Roman. If he faces Roman, I don't think Roman, with this entire head of the table gimmick that he's got, I don't think he needs to, unless he's just going to win the title back, I don't think he needs a major loss until he at least fights The Rock. Because that's where that's leading. I guarantee that is where that's going. But if he starts losing,
he's got to beat The Rock, man. I'm sorry. Well, yeah, I don't want The Rock to come back and beat another champion.
Well, like, that's what I'm saying. But if Roman keeps on, if he loses a lot, then he's not a credible threat to The Rock. No one's going to believe that he's going to lose. But if he,
I don't know. You can take someone like Roman's head of the table and you give him a losing streak, and what you can do, because what we're seeing right now with Roman, he's constantly making himself this confident, wanting Heyman to address him as tribal chief, Jay as tribal chief. You take that around and then you start putting this back in Roman's face. You can build a story to where he's feeling like it would tie back into what Kevin Owens said in his promo before the Rumble, that he's insecure, that he doesn't believe himself to be the top guy. So then when he does challenge The Rock, you'll get yourself a desperate, a very do whatever it takes Roman Reigns to beat him. That way, his win against The Rock, if he has a losing streak, can once again, then you can have Roman Reigns go for the heavyweight championship by saying, I beat The Rock. I am truly, officially the tribal chief. So he no longer has to need people to clarify or designate him as that. He's already like that in his own mind by being The Rock. So then you'll get to see him tear down people in matches, rebuild him back up. So I mean, I can see it's possible of Roman having a losing streak, though.
Yeah, like honestly, my idea is I want him to go the next year, 2 years, however long this COVID era lasts, without losing the title. And then I want him to fight The Rock, and I want him to like The Rock's my favorite wrestler ever, but I want him to absolutely destroy The Rock so that he's the biggest heel on SmackDown, so that whatever the next big face is, that person beats Roman and he is an automatic star because Roman has ran through everyone else.
Hey, can I do some fantasy booking?
Sure.
Because I could like at the end of what you just said, I know what I would want to happen after it, and it's been teased like in the recent news. but it's something that I pitched ever since Paul Heyman got with Roman Reigns. Say Roman Reigns, you said he destroys The Rock. Boom, 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 boom. The next big feud after that, I think the way that they should tease it up is that they start having Roman Reigns start becoming more fearsome within his own group and his family as the head of the table, especially towards Paul Heyman. And I think that they'll start showing Paul Heyman more, get scared a lot, coward, try to advise him, and then shut up, Paul, or you don't like get real, ooh, scared. And then it's going to give Paul Heyman some sympathy, and which is going to, Paul Heyman can make it work. He is slimy as he is, he can make it work. And then a returning Brock Lesnar as a face coming in to save Paul Heyman from Brock Lesnar, from Roman Reigns. And then he goes through the whole family. I mean, the Usos can bump for him. He goes through the whole family. He finally beats Roman Reigns. He beats Roman Reigns, or he could even come in there and they could pull all kinds of stuff. But I could totally see like he beats Roman Reigns, and then Paul Heyman just is so happy. He comes and he gives him a big hug, super happy, and all of a sudden picks Paul Heyman up F5. Boom! Drops him, picks up the title, and then the crowd cheers as he lifts up the belt.
Honestly,
I know it's a tight thing, but
like I have heard that they want to set up and do a Roman versus Brock feud, but I don't see a world where a part-time Brock Lesnar will ever get cheered by the WWE universe. Like everyone knows everyone knows he's in it for just a paycheck, and he's only going to show up one day a month.
Yeah, but Paul ain't playing though. He's Brock Lesnar. If he goes in there and destroyed a heel, when Brock Lesnar went and destroyed, remember when Seth Rollins stole the title at WrestleMania 31, and then the Raw afterwards, Brock Lesnar wanted to fight Seth, and then he destroyed everybody. The crowd freaked. Like that Brock Lesnar,
a post-Mania crowd who will cheer for anything.
Yeah, but when Brock turns that beast on and he does it to a heel, the crowd's gonna love it. I mean, if he did that to who's the imagine who is it? Who's I mean, he could do that to Elias and get cheered. He could who could he beast to go beast mode on and get cheered? Who do you think?
I mean, you could probably do it to R-Truth and he'll still get cheered after Truth does like a funny segment.
Hey, R-Truth will just make him laugh.
I think we've been on this show for a while, or at least I have. So, I think unless you guys have any extra points, I still think I didn't even say who I thought Bianca. I completely agree. Actually, yeah, I agree. She should fight Sasha, and I am purely doing that because of my draft pick. I have Asuka and I have Bianca, and if they both win one retains the belt at Mania and the other one wins the belt at Mania, that's 10 points. So I'll take it, and I am purely doing that because of draft points.
Hey, I still got the best pick, Ryan. I know that you unfortunately missed out, but I got lucky enough to get the first draft pick in the first round, and obviously I picked the best wrestler, the one everybody probably would want, and I think he's going to lead me throughout the year. It's only beginning. I think he's going to lead me to all the points.
Yeah, like Kenny Omega, he's gonna. But I think here's my prediction for sometime this year: someone is going to kick out of the one-winged angel because no one has ever done it, and someone is going to do it, and someone's going to beat him because of that.
Coda.
And I don't know what who's going to do it. But I mean, it may not happen this year, but that's my prediction is by the end of this year, someone will have kicked out of the one-winged angel and will have to hit a second one.
And that's bold, Colton. I'm gonna start calling you Bolton because that's bold. That's bold, bro. I don't know.
But
That's a tough one. Only Kota Ibushi, which in DDT, which I don't know if it counts. I heard that Kota Ibushi did kick out of it when they did that match, but
I believe also maybe in New Japan, didn't Okada kick out of that?
no, his foot went under the middle rope.
Oh, that's
He didn't-
right. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't kick out of it. Man, that's good for trivia. Yeah, so he didn't know. Nobody's kicked out of it like Colton since it mattered. But this year, bro, man, and maybe
Yeah.
Kota, because there's rumors that now that New Japan, because Kenta showed up. Sorry if I spoiled that for anybody. It's Friday night now. Yeah, that's 2 days by now. So,
Even then,
by
I'm
the
pretty
time
sure
this
the
comes
internet,
out,
the
it'll be
internet,
Sunday.
right.
yeah. The internet's also
Kota-
spoiled it too. Let's not fool ourselves. The internet's also spoiled it.
Yeah, true. If it isn't, depending on the travel restrictions and what happens, I could see Kota Ibushi kicking out. And if it's Kota Ibushi, I'm gonna make another bold prediction, Colton. This is mine. I like it. I'm gonna add to yours. If someone kicks out of this year and it's Kota Ibushi, I think that Kota Ibushi is gonna kick out at 1. That's mine.
Ooh. That's a good one.
Could you imagine? But
Let's see.
Yeah.
Honestly, I
All
can
right.
say that. To me,
I'm gonna pay attention to that, Cole. I'm gonna pay attention to that, man. I wanna see if someone kicks out of the One-Winged Angel. That's
actually for me,
very
if
interesting.
if I see storyline wise, I think if I'm looking at it, and mainly from an AEW story perspective, if I have to give my prediction on who I think will kick out the One-Winged Angel, it's gonna be the guy that Kenny has had himself a year-long program with as his partner to mini rival to I think is gonna happen again. I think Hangman Page will be the one to kick out of that because Hangman has already ever since after All Out, Hangman has gone through 3 different story progressions. And it seems that they're all starting to come together. Like they're all being trickled down this year. And I think it's going to lead to maybe him and Kenny Omega at All Out for the championship, or Double or Nothing, but it's too soon. But I think it's gonna build to where because it seems Hangman, he is set to be the top star. Because we saw last year with crowds, they love him. I think whoever kicks out of that One-Winged Angel deserves a live crowd pop, honestly. But
He can't
I think
finish
we're
their beer. That was pretty dope. Like, I think that was. I'm curious where that story would have went because they were going for the downward spiral, the alcoholic. They were probably going to do that, but I bet it was going to be so different.
It's
Like,
really more of the self-destructive angle from what I saw. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to do our farewell now since I have been on here for ever.
Yeah, we don't want to piss off your wife, man.
Yeah, nah, she'll be okay. I really appreciate you guys being on here. Next week, JB3, I already told tomorrow that we'll review season 1 and season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. next week. Since he had to leave early, we couldn't do it this week, which is the reason why we decided to talk wrestling. But do either one of you guys have anything you want to plug or anything like that?
Yeah, I got a couple of things to plug. First off, as I mentioned earlier on, I do have a wrestling podcast I co-host with James Shimo on Anchor called Wrestling Ramblings and Rages Podcast. Last year in 2020, we were mainly just doing just simple pay-per-view reviews or the wrestling year in review. But starting this year, James and I, we're starting to do a weekly review of all the wrestling content, Raw, SmackDown, SmackDown, NXT, in AEW, and Impact as well. For throughout the first month of July, I was reviewing all of Impact and AEW. James covered WWE, but now this is February. On our next episode, the roles have switched. So I'll be reviewing all the WWE content. He'll be reviewing AEW and Impact, and we're just going to cycle through. And we did have ourselves a bet for the Royal Rumble. And the bet was whoever had the least amount of predictions, the loser would have to buy the winner dinner or a meal. I lost my predictions to James, so you'll find out on our show what I have to buy him for, what meal he wants me to pay for him. And then also anyone here who loves the Schmoedown, I have myself a YouTube channel I co-host alongside Ben Rayner and Brandon Buck called Mount Schmoedown, where we mainly do a career retrospective on Schmoedown players, past and present, to look at their impact and legacy in the Schmoedown. And this past Saturday, we did ourselves a crossover with Spin from another Schmoedown after show, Spin from the Real, as we spent hour-ish or so talking about Jason Inman. So check out that episode, and I believe you're going to enjoy it. And then the next Saturday is going to be a tribute episode regarding the big sweaty man himself, John Schnepp.
All right. Good deal. JB3, you got anything?
Oh, yeah. I got something. It includes both of you. It's called The Clash of the Combatants. Combat Wrestling Trivia presents first ever G1 style round robin tournament. That's right. 20 combatants total. 10 in Block A, 10 in Block B. They're going to be going on just like the G1. It's going to be 9 weeks of crazy action back and forth. Tons of crazy matchups. We get to see a lot of rematches, a lot of brand new matches, some debuts, some returns, a lot of crazy things happening. And at some point during those 9 weeks, yes, because Mr. SuperNova and Mr. Payne are both in Block B, which is actually probably going to be revealed by the time this comes out publicly. At some point during these 9 weeks, we will have a match between Colton Roberts and the Painmaker, because they're in the same block. It's going to be a good time. 9 weeks of great action. Check it out. Combat Wrestling Trivia.
Well, Ryan, congratulations on your victory.
Hey, man, who knows what we're going to get? I thought I'd have an easy win against Andrew Reynolds, and he took me to the 1 point. He took me to 1 point. 1 point differential.
Yeah, I have our group chat on mute, and I put it away because you guys are talking in it so much that I'm just like, yeah, I gotta mute this. My phone was vibrating so much last night. My wife was like, "Who are you talking to?" I'm like, "I'm not talking to anyone. Everyone else is talking to each other." And I asked JB3, I was like, "Is it cool if I mute this and you tell me when I need to be paying attention?" He was like, "Absolutely." I was like, "Thank you."
Right, especially because we already recorded your match. No spoilers, but yeah, we already recorded your match for week 1, so you're kind of good for a minute because I'm scheduling the other ones. But yeah.
But yeah, that's been a whole lot of fun. I really enjoy Combat Wrestling Trivia. It's so much less stressful than Geek Trivia because I actually study for that, and I don't study for wrestling at all. I just go off of what I know, and apparently that is 4 points worth of stuff in my first match, and I will not disclose my amount of points in my second match. So that's the goal. This entire tournament is to do better than 4 points. That's my goal. Do better than that. I don't have to beat anyone. I just want to get more than 4 points. The moment I get 5 points, I will be so happy. And then I'll go for, I'm going to beat someone. That will be the goal. The second goal is I'll get 5 points, and then the next goal is to beat somebody, and then beat someone else, and then beat someone else. But right now, it's to do better than 4 points. That's the goal.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna be paying attention, and I'm gonna be right along with the journey. I'm excited to see what happens.
And this will be a thing where, like, I've talked about it with movie trivia that if I lose a whole lot, I may think about retiring. But wrestling trivia, until I get more than 4 points, you will have me in matches until I'm 55 years old if I have not done more than 4 points. And then
I hope you get 4 points.
I will be at the hospital. You have to bring my laptop in for me to have a match. Me being 98 years old, because I need those more than 4 points. That's because that's the goal. And yeah, like it's a really good time. I really enjoy your show. Thank you guys so much for being on the show. You guys have been on here for quite a while. I've been on here for about 3.5 hours prepping for this, and including the show. So we're gonna call this a day. Thank you guys so much. I'm gonna move you guys to the back so I can. Do you guys have any like social media or anything you want to plug?
Oh, yeah. I mean, people can follow me on Twitter, caramel_pain, and of course, Facebook, just name right here. And also, you can find me on Instagram as well. You can just follow me, and then we can have like ourselves like our own little private conversation through direct messaging. And hell, I mean, people are familiar with the Stereo app. I mean, people can also reach out to me there because Stereo is also a good way to do simple one-on-one broadcasting. But other than that, that's about it.
All right. JB3, you got anything?
Just the Combat Wrestling Trivia Facebook page. Join the group.
All right. I'm going to move you guys back to the back, and then we're going to end this bad boy. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for watching this. I do realize that it's almost 3 hours long, so if you weren't able to be here for the entire thing, I completely understand. But thank you so much. Please follow me on Twitter at ColtonRoberts8, and you can follow the show at SuperNova_show. For any updates regarding the show, we'll be back next week with our match between Ryan Payne and Robert Kastner. We'll be talking about more Schmoedown stuff. I don't think there will be any big updates, so regarding that, we'll be reviewing The Desolation of Smaug. Hopefully we will have seen or we can talk to the rest of the cast about episode 5 of WandaVision, and then the people who have seen episode 6 will talk about that. And then last but not least, we are going to review season 1 and season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.